Whoa. Okay. Hey, everybody. It is Saturday, May 1st, 2021. And we are here. I'm Dave Mader here on Super Mader Brothers Podcasting to talk about the next installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series, um, which is known as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which just concluded. Hey, we're going to jump into this. We got a great panel to break this down. First, let's introduce Ashley Millard. How you doing tonight, Ashley?
I'm good.
That's great. I'm doing good too. And then let's bring it next. We got Jaemeel Robinson. How you doing, Jaemeel?
Okay, and yourself?
I'm doing great. You know, ready to talk about some fisticuffs, some superhero action, so all these different characters crossing over. I love my Marvel content. Hey, we're gonna get into it. So the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So many characters to break down. We already talked about WandaVision. This was a 6-episode season as compared to the 9 episodes I guess we watched in WandaVision. So here we are 2 months later, roughly. Let's maybe go to Ashley first. Ashley, how did you feel about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I am still digesting, and because I did the exact same thing I did with WandaVision, and I waited until it was done and I binged it all in one sitting. I did not enjoy it as much as WandaVision. I have some issues with it, but I like
some issues.
I liked some stuff, but also some other things I was not a fan of.
Okay, a little bit of a mixed bag, it sounds like. Let's go over to Jaemeel next. Jaemeel, how did you feel about this series?
You know what? I watched it week to week, and this one I felt I felt like I learned my lessons from WandaVision in terms of expectations.
Right.
And what I mean by expectations is the presentation and excitement was there from week to week. I wasn't expecting huge reveals because once again, expectations have led to disappointment. I didn't want to pull a boner, if you know what I
A
mean.
boner. Right.
Right?
A boner is a mistake.
But at the same time, I was trying to follow the journey and find the enjoyment in that journey, not necessarily expecting to be blown away at the end. And I think that was the best method to enjoy this series because I thought that this was perfect up until the shaky landing where they stepped forward and they got deducted marks. So overall, looking back, was a good series, not a great one. That was worth time. So I did enjoy it. Issues though.
Okay, issues, fair enough. Issues, some nitpicking. It sounds like not bad, but it sounds like I don't know, maybe a C or a B. It doesn't sound like an A, rating necessarily. But let's break it down and find out why. So we can talk about this episode by episode, or we can talk about it character by character. However, you would like to proceed this evening. Is there any preference?
Doesn't matter to me, however you want to do it. My episodes bleed together though, because I watched it as one long thing.
Right. You watched it as.
Can we first start off with this? Ashley, you are absolutely on the ball in terms of watching this series specifically as a whole. I like backing up stuff. I'm gonna buy this show, on Blu-ray whenever it comes out, because I want those special features. And what I did though was I produced a cut of it where it kind of bleeds in together so it can be watched together without recaps, without credits, as one entity, right? And it came up to about 4 hours and 20 so odd minutes.
Yeah.
I will state that those 4 hours went by mighty quick in comparison to another 4-hour superhero fair, which I needed to digest. Digest or regurgitate repeatedly 3 multiple times. So I'm with you. in terms of this situation altogether, I agree that this felt like, as they were promoting it, was a movie in 6 parts.
Hmm.
It was, yes, absolutely. This more so because it's shorter, I think, especially compared to WandaVision, but WandaVision definitely had an episodic feeling to it.
Yes.
So it suited this TV pattern better. And it's interesting to me too that this was supposed to come out before WandaVision initially in their plan, but because of production and the COVID restrictions and everything that happened, clearly that they had to shift things around, change their stories probably in certain ways. And we got WandaVision first.
I will say this, and I said this to someone I work with when we were talking about it. If this had come out before WandaVision, I think I may have enjoyed it more.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like, I
I,
think I would have been like, I would have been really pumped about it, and I would have been, and then WandaVision would have come out, and I would have been like, oh, yeah, like, this is, they can, like, I would have loved WandaVision as much, but I think if I had watched this first, I would have been like, they know what, but after watching WandaVision and seeing what they could do, watching this, I was like a little disappointed with some things.
Really, I feel the opposite, actually. I'm glad that I got WandaVision, which was more of a character study, um, than this one, which had a lot more action. I felt that some people would have been disappointed with the lack of action in WandaVision. Um, Whereas this one was like you had two sides to a coin where it was like we can do the really hard hitting, like character focused um stuff in WandaVision inspection, and then also do that with a lot of action being presented, right? So it was just kind
Yeah.
of upping the ante. Um, Now, I think I would have enjoyed both entirely the same. Maybe I'm just judging that I would have felt differently based upon how other people would have felt with me stating what I just stated.
Hmm.
I'd
I
have
was
to
gonna
say
watch
that
both. I'm gonna watch it. Like, come on.
I'd have to say that I'm tending to agree with Ashley more that I feel like this would have made a good appetizer for a main course that was WandaVision, because WandaVision was such an exceptional piece of art, and you know it has this kind of special place I think in MCU to come. This I don't know, like it's okay, but I guess it depends how much you like this particular genre and how attached you are to the Captain America property. But that's the beauty of Marvel and the diversity of the properties, because obviously the Captain America franchise compared to Thor and compared to Iron Man and compared to Black Panther and Doctor Strange, they all have their individual flavors and their
Hmm.
specific beats and almost paces and creative teams behind them. And then they all culminate in things like Avengers and in different things like that. But and there's some sort of guidance here. But yeah, like I feel like you have to sort of be into this Captain America franchise or series to a certain degree to enjoy it even nearly as much, because I was watching with Jane and Jane was kind of like, I'm out of this. Like you know, it's not really holding me in as much as WandaVision was.
I am a huge fan of the Captain America. The like, if we're going with just the trilogy movies, I'm a huge fan of them. I never grew up reading Captain America. I didn't know anything about Captain America when I watched the first Captain America movie. And the only reason, like, I would have eventually gotten around to watching it, but it was my kids that were like, my son wanted to, he was like, as soon as it came out on DVD, he was like, we got to get this. I want to watch it. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is a really good movie. And I feel like any of the other trilogies that the other MCUs that have so like the Thor, the Iron Man, like that have 3 movies already in the first few phases, I think Captain America was the best all around 3 movies put together. The other ones had great, maybe great 1 and 3 or great 2, but not all 3 movies were as strong as I think Captain America. All 3 were strong movies.
Jaemeel, what
I just
thoughts?
I just like how you were basically saying like maybe they have the first and the last one that were good, and then I
Second
think
was
you pause for a second, you're like, wait, I think it's pretty consistent that number 2 is usually the weakest one.
But number 2, like, the second Captain America is a great movie.
Yeah.
Probably the strong. It's maybe the strongest one.
Yeah,
But then you have Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 2, which is like, wow.
What about Ant-Man 2?
I haven't even watched it.
I will defend Ant-Man 2 as, yes, it's not as good as the first one, but it is it really felt like a throwback to the 80s and 90s Disney live action fare where it's like, hijinks ensue, and stuff happens, and it's really self-contained. And you have a villain that isn't really menacing but just annoying. And it just feels like a wacky adventure, like an
Right.
80s,
Well, it's a
90s
natural
kind of-
progression too of like it's Ant-Man and the Wasp is the second one, and there definitely are. It feels like bringing in like the original Ant-Man and the Wasp and Michelle Pfeiffer and all that. I think that's
Yeah. I just, in the grand scheme of things, considering Ant-Man the Wasp, quick criticism was the two things that were the weakest of it was the villain wasn't interesting enough for me to hold any type of like concern for the characters, and two, it failed in its namesake. I really didn't feel like this was exploring Ant-Man and the Wasp characters. um,
yeah. The Wasp is still sort of a secondary to the Ant-Man. It's
Well,
definitely
I-
Ant-Man's at the lead of that.
there should have been a duality the in terms of the presentation. With There were two Ant-Man and the Wasps, and I didn't really feel that they gave there should have been more conversations with Hank Pym and my gosh, I can't the character.
The daughter or the
No, Hank Pym and
Scott Lang.
Scott Lang. There should have been more conversations about how he is not whole without his partner, right? The Wasp would be
Right.
Michelle Pfeiffer's character.
How much stronger they were together. And things
Yes,
like that.
I just feel like that was a missed opportunity in that story. It was fun, and but there should have been a little bit more meat in the bone. I don't want to go into a lengthy conversation about.
Yeah, no, we're
Ant-Man
not
and the
here to
Wasp,
cover
but-
Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like it is another property within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has at least two movies. And but let's talk about the duality there, because it's an interesting you bring that up, because we have the title characters of this show. We have the Sam Wilson, the Falcon, and we have James Bucky Buchanan Barnes in as played with the Winter Soldier, if you will,
or the White Wolf.
Or the White Wolf. Several names. He's got many names.
White Panther.
White Panther.
White Panther.
White Panther's the new one. We also have Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, also known as what was his a Crouching Tiger, or was it
the Black Falcon as well?
The Black Falcon. Hanging out with Black Kid. But okay, so definitely, and we watched the making of. I don't know if, or at least I did. I don't know if both of you have.
I haven't yet.
Yeah, but in the making of featurette, they spoke to that they were kind of going for this buddy cop angle, as you could kind of guess. That they were going for sort of a Lethal Weapon, in specifically Lethal Weapon, but also Rush Hour and different movies where just having that energy. These two came together in the Captain America, the Winter Soldier from 2014. Both of them were introduced in that film. That film is definitely. Well, actually, no, wait, because we met Bucky in part 1, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And to me, like that movie, the first movie, is the weakest of the bunch. It's even, I prefer, of the Phase 1 films, I feel like Captain America, the First Avenger is not, that's not where I fell in love with the Captain America character. It wouldn't be till the next movie, part 2. Jaemeel, am I hurt? Am I wounding you?
You're wounding my heart.
I love that movie.
One is so amazing to me. I did fall in love with this character in Captain America, the first Avenger. I felt that, to me, that movie made the Avengers work as well. Uh, it did so much groundwork, and just in terms of the government involvement with superheroes, quote unquote superheroes, its presentation of action. It was what I always hoped eventually a Fantastic Four or a Captain America movie would be, whereas it has those classic strappings. It's saddled between reality and the media's presentation of a superhero, the expectations of the role, and how uh, it is a role that's bigger than yourself. The love between um, what's going Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, uh, how the world is crafted, and how people can become bigger than their actual selves. This small puny man became this person who saved the world, and the movie isn't long, but it feels so rich, and there's so many scenes, and characters feel so real. Like Stark feels real, from the doctor that explains to him why he chose him, to even Red Skull didn't just seem like a menacing, twirling bad guy. He seemed like a man with a clear agenda. And I just I love that movie so much, and I could probably talk forever. And this is me trying to squeeze it all into a quick nugget of information, but uh, I would actually say that it goes 2, 1, 3, and the reason why one is in the middle is because two is so much better, not because one is any less than good.
Wow. Okay. Well, fair enough. But to me, it's 3, 2, 1 is the order. In
Okay,
terms of
wow, that is an interesting take. But okay, okay, okay.
yeah, I think Civil War is the strongest, and I think it's because it keeps getting better. I feel like the one's okay; it's a fine enough start, I guess, but it's not as strong as maybe Iron Man is, or as coming out as strong. Even Thor, I thought was a little bit better
Okay.
in terms of a first installment. But I'm going to also preface by saying, like, Captain America was a character I never had much interest in. We are all Canadians here on this podcast, and so we are coming from a perspective of not being Americans, but also that Captain America, I think, especially in the Avengers, and also by the time Winter Soldier came around, and the whole standing up to Hydra and this whole thing, and Steve Rogers being this guy principal who just doesn't blindly follow orders, which is how I always interpreted Steve Rogers. I always interpreted him as being much closer to this other version of Captain America, and we get in this series in U.S. Agent, and the John Walker character, who's a little bit more of that type of a character. But
A bootlicker?
the bootlicker, maybe the Steve Rogers we ended up getting in these movies, like, is amazing, and is going to be, I think, well remembered, and changed me around, like, to care about Captain America, and to because I'm not American, like, so I'm like, well, if it was Captain, I don't know, like, Italy, I don't know if I would feel any more excited about him, or whatever. Captain Japan, it wouldn't really matter.
Um, with Captain America, you know what? That isn't your fault. That's more of the, I guess, the marketing of the character, or the, like, when you saw him in Spider-Man, the animated series, he was presented as this overtly patriotic dude.
Yeah.
In the made-for-TV movies, once again, same type of thing. He loves America. All right.
Right. He was like the Hulk
Well,
Hogan, I love
yeah,
America,
kind of thing. And
fight for the rights of every
Canadians
man.
automatically kind of just, kind of ease back whenever we see anything with overt patriotism, like blind patriotism, which was
Hacksaw Jim
never
Duggan.
really never really the Captain America in modern times. Um, this is a person who had multiple arcs, like Man Without a Country, where he was nomad for a while, no longer Captain America. So we're kind of seeing him kind of go through a lot of his history in 3 movies. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think the character is stronger for it. We get to see the best of, which is great. Um,
Yeah, because they had all this source material for
yeah,
decades to draw upon, and they could cherry pick the best stuff. And and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are two characters from the Captain America comic franchise that were brought over, and they end up through the series of those movies, in the second movie and in the third movie in particular, where they're kind of more in this like starting to work together mode along with Steve Rogers. They're kind of left here, sort of the survivors, because he's retired or gone to the moon or wherever the hell Steve Rogers
To
went.
the moon.
Isn't that what that kid says?
Yes.
the new Falcon says that, yes.
He's not the new Falcon yet, but he's gearing up for it. Yeah.
Yet.
And yeah. It's I know it was very obvious on the rewatch, that that's where he's headed. But yeah, these two. Okay, do you feel like these two had good chemistry in the 6 episodes and throughout this run?
We're talking about Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes,
Yes, as played by Anthony Mackie and
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Ashley, go ahead, because
Yes, I do. There was literally some scenes where I was like, are they even acting here, or is just cameras are on them and they're just being Sebastian and Anthony? Like, because if you watch I've watched a lot of their press stuff leading up to a lot of the Avengers, and they're just they are the way that, like, they're super good buddies in real life. So there was some where I was just like, they're so good together.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think the show did a great job of showing the journey from being somewhat at odds to really coming together and seeing trust and a genuine friendship being forged. But the funny thing is exactly what Ashley said. You can tell it's like these guys are friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Come on.
They did over the course of, I agree with Jaemeel, over the course of the 6 episodes, they did a good job from taking them as two people who were friends with the same person to two friends.
They're friends-in-law, and then they became friends with each other.
Friends-in-law. I love that. Friends-in-law.
To, like, him being invited to
the
cookout, which is a big thing.
Well, he might be marrying Sam's sister for all we know. It seems like where it's headed.
Yeah.
If he's not going to go for that one he was dating at the beginning, the sushi,
the one that's
chef.
still waiting to finish that game of Battleship. Nah, man,
Yes.
I think she's moved on.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. I think that they had a great dynamic. Maybe it's hard, yeah, but they're just them like bickering at each other, and just the writing on top with their performances, I think, was really well done. I think that their conflict and eventual resolution of that is believable. They have a good arc here. I think that that they always have chemistry, and so I think that this was smart, really smart. The only thing I kind of was like, was it a good thing that like Steve Rogers didn't come back here, that he wasn't involved in this first series at all?
Yes.
And I have to think it's yes, right? Like that these two had to kind of stand on their own and not have him in the mix for once.
Yeah, I think they need to. Marvel needs to move on from the Tony Starks and the Captain Americas, and I think eventually the Thors, just because it's going to be, the focus has been so much on them, those three. I shouldn't say Thor, I should say Black Widow, which will be more true in a bit, because they have been the figureheads of the Avengers for so long. And as Sam says in the first episode of the series, they need new heroes. And I think when the next Avengers movie comes along, it's going to look very different than what we have seen in the past 4 previous Avengers movies.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So, other question here too is just like, in this, okay, let's maybe talk about the episodes here and how everything kind of progresses, and then we'll probably talk about the different characters as they come up. But the first episode doesn't actually have these two come together at all. It's mostly kind of a separate story for Sam and a separate story for Bucky for most, or really up until the end. Or I don't even think they're even together at the end of this episode. No, they're not.
Nope.
Right, because at the end of the episode they announced that John Walker's the new Captain America. So in the first episode, it's 6 months after the blip. Sam Wilson, he's doing his Falcon thing. He's doing his superhero thing. He has to rescue a soldier from Buddy Baltrock, as played by what's his
Georges
name?
St. Pierre.
Georges St. Pierre, the Canadian like boxer
Yes.
guy.
And it's Georges Batroc.
Georges Batroc.
Yeah.
Oui. And so he's so there's this whole action like thing and where he has to save him from Tunisia, and if they cross into Libya, then this soldier guy I guess is going to be not doing too well. Was this action as good for you guys as it was for me? Because I really liked it.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, Marvel knows how to do action very well. So they threw a lot of money in it, and they presented it with a lot of action and suspense. So it's old hat. You know what? I could have, when I look back at the series, I think that I could have enjoyed this series with no action sequences. The performances are just good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like the real action is in the conversations, really.
So yeah, okay, and so for me it's both, right? Because it's got the action, it's got the excitement, it's got the superhero stuff. Because I still really do watch it partly for that stuff, but then I want it to be like the really strong acting, really good story, kind of grounding it all together. Okay, so then we had that whole fight. He saves the dude, and then we get the introduction of new Falcon. Torres, is his name Torres?
I think it's Torres.
Yeah, I think I have a photo of him here. Here it is. This is the new guy. He is known as Joaquin Torres.
Yeah, Joaquin.
He's a first lieutenant in the Air Force, seems like he will be. And he's also kind of helping Sam Wilson get onto the Flag Smashers and get onto that, all these things. But Sam Wilson doesn't work for the government, right?
He's on a contract.
He's like a contractor. He's an independent contractor.
Yes.
So is this guy's like liaison? This Joaquin Torres?
Yeah, helping him on the ground, as they said. They introduced in the first mission. They stated that he would be his like on the ground man, like his liaison, as he said.
But didn't the original Falcon wings come from the U.S. government? Weren't they because wasn't Sam Wilson like a paratrooper or something, and that's how he got the wings in the first place?
The prototype wings were part of a pararescue group. Him and his partner, and they were there because of the anti-air missiles that were preventing helicopters from rescuing people. So that was their thing. His buddy was killed. He finished the mission and then he retired.
But there's only the one wings. There's not like many of these sets of wings.
Well, keep in mind that when he joined the Avengers, then you have Stark involved, and Stark is always tinkering with stuff. So there were upgrades in the Stark tech, but the Stark tech was built upon what was already previously made via the government.
Right. Yeah, because it seems like Stark could make Iron Man suits and War Machine suits already fly around like without wings.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the maneuverability, the Falcon has a lot more agility in the air than an Iron Man suit.
Okay,
which kind of depends on the repulsor blast to kind of redirect where their flow of air is.
Right, it's a different kind of flight style.
Yeah.
But okay, what we saw here, we'll talk about it, I guess, in the episode where the Falcon's wings were clipped, but the broken wings were left with this guy, and so presumably he'll rebuild them into the new wings to come. So that's kind of an interesting way to bring him into this universe, not trying to force it a little too fast. So afterwards, there's this whole series where Wilson he doesn't want to be Captain America, so he gives the shield up. He hands it over. This whole speech he gives at the kind of like this version of the Smithsonian in Washington. We were here in that movie, the same movie, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I believe, because this is kind of where they keep coming back to in that movie. In terms of
You
like
mean
historical
the Winter Soldier?
in the Winter Soldier, yes.
Yeah, Captain
Yeah,
America, Winter Soldier.
right, and we also see that Rhodey's there, James Rhodes from the Iron Man franchise. He's popping in for this ceremony. There's this senator guy we get to meet. He's all over the place in this series. He's anytime the government has to say something, it's this one senator with a beard.
Yeah, he's also a member of the GRC.
He's everywhere and everything. This guy gets around. He speaks for everybody.
Yeah.
So hey, good job.
So just on the topic of Sam not wanting to be Captain America, it's more of not wanting to be Captain America. It was more of a question of the mantle. If it didn't feel comfortable, didn't feel for him, felt like it was for someone else altogether. Which is what he mentioned before. He didn't feel like he felt like the weight and the burden of that role. Um, he wouldn't be able to do it justice because he would be spending more time fighting with people than bringing people together.
But that's not very well explained, at least not right away. To me, like it was kind of like he goes through this whole action sequence where he's not being Captain America yet. We just see he's just being Falcon. He's like, I'm a superhero. I can do things. And then the shield should be propped up. Like Steve, his legacy should be remembered, and that's it. And then afterwards, Rhodey's like, hey man, maybe you should really have thought about doing this. Like it would have maybe been a good thing versus this move.
But at the same time, Rhodey telling someone to be Captain America, that's like telling Rhodey, hey, why don't you change your name to Iron Man? Right?
How would you be Iron Patriot?
No, not that. Yes, Iron Patriot who kidnapped the president. Yes, let's do that.
I got a much more friendly name, War Machine.
War Machine rocks.
Doesn't make a lot of sense though. It's like, hey, I'm the government agent. I'm the War Machine. Yeah.
But I just feel like it wouldn't be. It seems kind of hypocritical for him to say that, to tell Sam to step into the role and the mantle, and at the same time not do the same.
Yeah.
Right. Did you find that that this was made it worth it by the end when he eventually does assume the mantle of Captain America? That this was the arc he had to go through in this show, and from this first episode to the last episode.
Okay. I'll talk on this. I'll talk on this because this to me is the major part of the show for me. When Endgame ended and he was given the shield, it seemed very academic that he would be the next Captain America. But there was no want. There was no want for Sam Wilson to become Captain America. He's fine as the Falcon.
Mhm.
I totally buy him as the Falcon. This series made me want him to become Captain America, which like I didn't think could happen, but it did. Right? I'm like, okay, this is, I didn't see a lot of the marketing for it because a lot of the marketing was like, who will wield the shield? Which if I saw that, I would be like, oh my gosh, really? They're just trying to make him into Captain America. I came pretty blind on it. I knew who was involved. I saw a trailer, and that was there was enough for me to go and watch it. So the fact that they made me, who is like, Cap should always be Cap, Steve should always be Captain America, they're always going to go back to that, made me want and appreciate him stepping into the role. All right. And when we get to episode 5, especially episode 5 and the beginning of episode 6, I I felt really excited about what I was seeing.
Well, yeah, and I think that it brings up an interesting topic too. It's because there's always been this trope in, especially in comic books, which have running continuities that superheroes pass the mantles, right? Where versus what we're more used to, maybe in mainstream movies and TV shows, is we'll just reboot this character like Batman every so often, right? We'll just say, okay, Batman is now from this decade, or James Bond, or different characters that you can do this with, versus in comic books, which tend to just have an ongoing narrative and say, okay, this is the next Spider-Man. It's going to be, hey, Ben Riley's Spider-Man now, or hey, that John Paul, what's his name, was Batman for a while. If you recall.
Azrael?
Azrael. Yeah, I'm talking about Azrael. Remember that in the 90s?
Yeah, let's not remember that. That wasn't good.
But this idea that can you accept like that that character, that person isn't that mantle anymore, isn't Captain America, isn't whatever, and then it got passed on to so and so who kept it going.
Passing of the mantle, even in comic books, hasn't done particularly well because the original is always preferred and always eventually takes back that role. With the exception of, I will say, 3 characters. 3 characters have been able to successfully and surpass its original, the original hero. First one is Green Lantern. Alan Scott being replaced by Hal Jordan and eventually Kyle Rayner,
and Jon Stewart,
and
Guy Gardner.
Let's not talk about Guy. Although we'll be seeing a lot of
Finn
Guy.
Whitrock was cast as Guy
We're going to
Gardner.
see a Guy soon. But like, people don't think about Alan Scott as the original Green Lantern anymore. Then you have Barry Allen and Wally West as the Flash.
There's multiple versions of the Flash.
Right. And then third is Robin, the role of Robin, where you have a multitude of people, all of which people accept as Robin, whether it be Dick Grayson, whether it be Tim Drake, whether it be even Carrie, I can't remember her last name. All Robins, all respected in that role. Even Damian Wayne, all respected. But in terms of a Batman, even though people have Dick Grayson has taken over as Batman, it always goes back to Bruce Wayne. Clark Kent has not been Superman. We have John Kent, who's currently Superman, but we all know it's going to eventually come back to Clark Kent.
Because in the comic, like when this happened in Avengers Endgame, where old Steve Rogers, Joe Biden's Steve Rogers gives gives the shield to Sam. I was very much expecting it, because in the comic books, sorry if this is a spoiler or not, but Sam Wilson was Captain America.
And everyone was Captain America.
And so has Bucky Barnes. He may eventually wield the shield himself in this show. I could see that happening. So, what is it more of a symbol? And could there be multiple versions of Captain America? And I think that they could look at something like Green Lantern and say, hey, there can be many people who rock this moniker. Who represent this cause.
A member of the Guardians of the Galaxy also held the Captain America shield as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the comic books, right. And they're never gonna go down that road, I think. Ever.
There have been new versions of Thor, and we might get a new version of Thor in this next Thor movie, Love and Thunder.
We will get
a new version of Thor.
Yeah.
Right. But is it going to be the problem you have in the comic books, where the original is always preferred, and they won't be accepted? Like this whole new generation, we're going to get introduced to this whole new generation of superheroes, because obviously, like, Hawkeye's kids are coming along, the Scarlet Witch and Vision kids, Billy and Tommy, they're going to be out there somewhere. Maybe even these nephews we meet of Sam Wilson in this first episode.
Really, in two instances, one, Green Lantern is a designation, not necessarily a mantle, and that's something that is hard for people to wrap their heads around. Like whoever holds the green ring is a Green Lantern. Like it's just like he is a lieutenant in an army.
Yeah, there's
Thor,
not one Green Lantern, right? It's a
yeah,
it's a core. It's
core.
like being a police officer.
Yeah, Thor isn't Thor's name, right? Thor is the hammer bestows the power of Thor, so whoever wields the hammer has the power of Thor, right? Of the Thor, right? Um, so whoever holds the wields the hammer is technically Thor, right? And that's something in the comic books, but I don't think they're really presenting that so much in the movies.
You're
Like
saying Thor's more of a title?
Thor is supposed to be a title, like it's supposed to be a title, really.
It's not really his name.
No, it's Otis son, Thor Otis son, I think is like he has like an actual name.
Okay, so and fair enough, but like, I guess time will tell. Will the continuity, will this keep going? I hope so, because I would like to see the next generation of superheroes, but keep these old, we honor the legacy. We don't need to reboot this again. We don't need a new version of Tony Stark. It's fine. We had a great version of Tony Stark and his legacy, and I don't know if like rebooting his character does anything for anybody. Maybe the time will come around and they'll say, well, but in 20 years, the kids, they're not going to watch a movie from 2008. So you can, forget about it. You have to bring this character back in somehow if you want.
So like I can go at length concerning this whole concept, and I think the movies are actually helping out the comic books um, in a way that I think a lot of comic book fans should be excited about. And the problem is, things get rebooted because they don't want to progress the story so much that they can't stick to the tried and true character that everyone is used to, right? We don't make a new we don't get a new person as Spider-Man because Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and that's what people are used to. So if we're making a new Spider-Man movie, we have to use Peter Parker.
Well,
Right?
Miles Morales, he's the other version.
Okay. I have strong feelings concerning Miles. I will park that to the side for this conversation.
All right.
But
Didn't mean to mention it.
at the very end, comic books are now matching the idea that these characters are not always going to be in the limelight, right? We can't always, like, Chris Pine isn't going to play Captain America until he's 80 years old.
Chris Evans,
right? So that means either someone else is going to play Captain America, or we're going to have a new Captain America, right? And then when people are going to take their kids to the comic book store and they see Steve Rogers as Captain America, they're like, that's not what I'm seeing on the screen. Where's the Falcon Captain America books? And so the comic books match the movies, so there's synergy. So as the movies progress in this universe where there's new characters being swapped in, right? The comic books have to match up so that those same characters are in the forefront, right? Guardians of the Galaxy comic books were basically worthless until the Guardians of the Galaxy movie came up. The team didn't even look like that. The comic books adapted to what was in the movies, right? So there's a synergy there. So as more characters are being swapped out of the movies, more characters are able to come to the forefront in the comic books and also in the movies. So as we see in the next generation, we're going to see Miss Marvel, right? Who is a new character who's going to be presented as a important character as much as Scarlet Witch was.
is she the stretchy one?
Yes. She can embiggen. Moon Knight, who I'm going to be amazed that, like, in about 3 years time people are going to be like, oh yeah, I like Moonlight. It's like, you know who Moonlight is? Like, Moon Knight is? It's like, geez.
Right. All these Cloak and Dagger and all these kind of like out there
no
characters.
one talked about Cloak and Dagger.
No one.
Cloak
Yeah,
and Dagger's
that
been
was
together forever. Like all they need now is Power Pack, and then my head is gonna spin.
Ashley, you've been quiet for a while. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm just listening. I don't know a lot about the comic books. I haven't read comic books in years. Like not Marvel or DC comic books. So
Which is,
I don't know what's going on right now with the comic books.
and frankly, you don't really need to.
Yeah.
The great thing is, this is what I like about the Marvel movies is it's bringing, the stories to you, right? People want to hear about these characters in their own way. And the movies just provide another way that people can experience those characters, just like an animated series would, or the comic books. Each is valid in their own way, right? And if you decide to read uh, a comic book, you already have the entry point with understanding of via the movies. Just like how the people who read the comic books can watch the movies with an understanding of kind of stepping into that world a little bit easier, or going into the animated series. So there is no shame if people don't read the comic books, no shame if people don't watch the movies and only read the comic books. It's just you're able to what is presented right, and they're doing a good job in presenting the character itself, then you're able to experience it whatever method or medium you want to.
Okay, but were you excited for the prospect of the Falcon, Sam Wilson, becoming Captain America? Did that mean anything to you or not?
At the beginning, no.
Ashley.
I was, because I was interested to see what he would do with it. I've always liked his character, and I thought this could be fun. Like I don't have an issue with passing the torch. Like if someone else wants to pick up, if the actor is done or the story is done and we're just going to get the same things over and over, and someone else can step into that role and breathe new life into that role, that excites me. I like in movies and stuff, I like change. I don't want to watch the same things for 20 years. I want the story to move along, and if that means a new actor steps into that role and that means a new character is stepping into that role, I like it, because I also don't want 700 reboots. I would rather it be passed on.
Good answer, I think. All right, here let's talk more about just we're only on episode 1 still. Okay, so
I knew it was going to happen that way.
There's so much to break down. We could probably do this just for one episode, but okay, then we get over to Bucky's story, and he's been pardoned. He's in government mandated therapy. We meet this psychiatrist. He's seen this therapist. Who is she from Game of Thrones? Is that who this was?
Just imagine anyone from the MCU who has any type of European leanings has been in Game of Thrones. Just automatically assume, because that is the truth. I'm pretty sure she was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the therapist character, Dr. something or other. Christina Rayner, is that her name?
Yes. Sure.
Christina Rayner is her name, and she is like a military psychiatrist that Bucky's seen. What I found interesting with just some of her scenes is how they were shooting them like around the eyes, like really close up on the eyes in some of the sequences. Did anyone notice that? Like kind of like showing how Bucky's thinking all the time, and how he sort of seems to be a tortured soul, and how she's trying to peer in and get into his head.
Yeah, I can understand that. That, and a lot of focus on the backdrop of the trees behind him as well.
A lot of the trees with the birch trees. Yeah, here she is, Christina Rayner.
Doctor.
Christina Rayner. You stand the United States Army officer and therapist for Bucky Barnes. Yep. And so and the other thing we haven't really mentioned is this is post blip, and we talked about that in WandaVision, but every time, like I'm preoccupied with everything that's post snap, post whatever we're calling it, blip or whatever. I guess it's blip is what they seem to be sticking with. And I'm like, were you blipped, Dr. Rayner, or were you here for the last 5 years? And everyone, I appreciated Sam's sister, Sarah, saying, "Hey, I was around for 5 years with the kids by
Yeah.
myself." I'm like, okay, so it gives me a context of what she like. I don't like. There was most of these characters. I don't know one way or the other. Baron Zemo, don't know if he was here or not for those 5 years.
I feel like he was
Yeah, I think he was.
Maybe he
not blipped,
was.
but I think he was in
I think
prison
he
that
was-
entire
yeah, I
time.
think so.
Yeah,
agree
because
with
he got that would mean he had to skip 5 years of prison.
No,
Yeah.
his sentence would just be extended 5 more years.
Yeah. But Sharon Carter.
She was
Uh,
not blipped.
She was around.
No, I
That's
think she
part of-
was though.
No, that's part of her story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Her name was on a list somewhere. I thought. Okay. The senator, was he blipped?
Doubtful.
The
if
GRC? No,
Yeah.
he was
GRC,
there.
I don't think so.
Because
We
the
don't really
GRC
know.
was instituted prior to the people returning in the blip.
What about that old guy that Bucky goes to lunch with when he killed his son?
He seemed way too suffering to have been blipped.
Yeah. So it isn't important that he was blipped or not, because his son has died some time ago and he's been suffering with that. So if he was suffering with it for 15 years versus 10,
Ted Mater says this is a really good show, but this breakdown may take weeks. Well, he's right, as we're on only the first episode and we're almost 51 minutes into this podcast.
10 or 15 years doesn't make a difference. That pain is still there of losing their.
Yes, it's still there. But okay, I guess what I'm also getting to is that this is the post blip world, and we've only got some glimpses in like Spider-Man Far From Home and in WandaVision, because it was so in this self-contained world mostly. We didn't get a great sense of what is going on. And this is maybe a little bit more into the real world, into like sort of the day-to-day and how they're trying to stitch things back together. And I'd imagine there's quite a bit of conflict between people who were around and people who weren't around. And that's kind of the premise of the show, but not really. Because it's like, hey, Bucky Barnes, you're back after being gone for 5 years. And so where does Bucky live?
In an apartment with no bed.
With no bed. Okay. How do you get the apartment?
He is he's on welfare. There you go.
Okay.
I just solved the answer. He's on
welfare.
He's government assisted living, right? War veteran, right? A very tenured war veteran, right?
Yeah.
Especially after being pardoned. He
He's
still
106
holds
years
rank.
old.
He still holds rank as well.
Captain, who was a sergeant. No, he's sergeant. He was
Sergeant.
Bucky, yeah. So he probably has some kind of bursary, not bursary, but he has his veteran fund, his pension.
Yeah. And Sam Wilson's finances and relative wealth and sort of the financial realities are kind of talked about with his story. Even in this first episode, when they try to get this loan with his sister and everything else that's going on.
So you also have to understand, for in that circumstance as well, it isn't just the blip that affected that area. That was also post Katrina as well. So it was doubly hit that area, right? So I can understand how even before they were scraping by, and then a lot of hard decisions would had to be made during the blip as well. So when he came back, and that's themes that we can talk about later on, but because it keeps getting repeated, that we'll talk about the bank, because I think the banker plus the police officers in episode 2, and you see it continue on, and really talked about in episode 5 and 6, about the racial aspects of the role. But I keep pushing that further down the line.
Right. Okay. Well, we do need to get to that. Well, Bucky was talking to his assassin. He goes on this date. He plays the battleship with the lady friend who the tortured father set him up with. I don't know if that relation. I don't know if I'm ready to ship that.
You can't.
Uh,
He left in the middle of the date and left for months.
Yeah.
yeah, and he's making. I think he's more into this one, Sarah Wilson.
Yeah.
That seems to be more his type. And but before we get to that story and everything to do with the bank and everything else, we also have to talk about the Flag Smashers because we get introduced to them.
Before we
Pr-
get to the Flag Smashers, one quick question. Um, do you take stock in the the theory, the online theory that Bucky is bisexual?
is Bucky bisexual? I have no opinion either way. He seems to be into women, but I guess he could be. He's got like a bromance with Steve for sure.
Ashley?
I haven't gotten that vibe from Bucky.
Okay, a lot of people were I I also I think that he is a little bit um very liberal in terms of his attitudes towards sexuality. Um Now, a lot of people were reading into his description of using Tinder as one of the clues, quote unquote clues, especially referring to the tiger pics. Tiger
Okay.
pics you don't traditionally see on women's pictures in Tinder. You see that more with men's pictures. So that kind of statement kind of like raised some questions about
Is
things,
it,
but
it? He also has the eyelashes, Sebastian
he
Stan. You know.
he has the eyelashes. Okay.
Well, you know, so he's got the looks, I guess. You know,
Okay.
and I don't know. He's a 106-year-old man. He's very progressive all around. So
Okay. Okay. We can move on. Flag smashers. Flag smashers.
Flag. Hey, Bucky Bar. Is he by? I don't know. Could be. Flag Smashers. Let's talk about Carly Morgenthau. And her Morgenthal is her name, based on a character from the comic books who's a big dude, muscly guy.
Yeah.
Who they gender swapped the character, and changed them around here.
Thankfully so, because I did not just want like them to be fighting just this big, strong, strapping dude. Like
Uh,
for 6 episodes, I just wouldn't care.
Yeah, I know this was. I think that this was good. This is played by Erin Kellyman, and so I think she was good, right, as like the leader. And we can talk about whether her motives were relatable or not. One sec, the cat needs to get out.
Fair enough. This is where I can kind of step in. A lot of my problems with this series are due to the Flag Smashers, and their whole subplot and motivations. And what I have learned is that there seems to be a whole subplot involving them that was cut from the show. And this was also kind of confirmed by the showrunner in a podcast called Fade to Black. He was a guest on it and mentioned how there was a subplot that he extremely loved, but unfortunately had to be removed. He states that it wasn't due to COVID, but he's been told to stop saying that as well. And he hopes one day that he can take that subplot and put it into a book so that people can read. So the other clues to this is um, how there was a lot of ADR involved in scenes involving the Planet Smashers, the,
Flag
the Flag
Smashers.
Smashers. Sorry,
We
um,
called them the Plant Smashers.
the
Was that?
Planet Smashers,
Oh,
um, and it was a lot of exposition that they wouldn't focus on people's faces, and they would just have like overdubbing of various lines. Um, we don't know where the leader, the motherly figure, how she died. They just say it was tuberculosis. But in the first episode, what they're stealing is vaccines. It actually says so on the boxes. So people speculate that there was like a pandemic that was occurring. It might not have been a major pandemic, but a pandemic that was affecting poor people. So they were stealing vaccines and other medical supplies to help people. Unfortunately, the mother figure passed away because she wasn't able to get a lot of help. This is also further backed up that when they went to their first safe house, they said everything is clean, right? You don't have to worry. Like there was no worry of infection. Um, Once again, this is all speculation, but it kind of this is why I'm able to give the show a little bit of a pass because what I felt was the weakest part was the part that would have been affected the most from that subplot being removed, supposed subplot being removed. So I'm able to divorce that from my enjoyment of the show, and everything else I enjoyed greatly.
Right. Ashley, the Flag Smashers. We're told that during the blip, a lot of people kind of moved around the world because there was only, we went from 7 billion people to like I guess 3.5 billion people. Roughly. A lot of people, but there was a lot of chaos in that. People moved countries, they moved into houses that used to be empty, and then all those people came back 5 years later. And so a lot of people now they're trying to put people back into where they came from. Get out of my house. Marissa Tomei is not having any of it. Did you find that their cause and their motivations were compelling?
I feel like this could have been an interesting story. I think it was, an interesting take on what happened during the blip. Did I need 6 episodes of this being a subplot? No, I think they could have done it in a 2-hour movie and it would have been better. I didn't buy her as the leader. And I absolutely hated that even after we saw all of their faces and everyone saw all of their faces and their faces were on TV and stuff, that they were still putting the stupid masks on. Stop with the masks. We know what your face looks like.
Jaemeel, did the masks remind you of gargoyles and like the hunter and all of the guys with the big hammers that come along later, like
That
right.
and Kane's first mask with the scrape across it.
The Kane the wrestler?
Yes, Kane the wrestler. Mayor Kane. Mayor Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, you're right. I could understand why you would put the mask on if you were like had like a ton of interference where it's like, oh, I can't find the one person because there's 12 there's
Yeah.
26 other people running all over the place. But they would go into like events and situations where it's just the six of them and they put the mask on. It's like, who cares? Right? All of you guys are super soldiers. It doesn't matter.
They would be talking to the main characters and then just put the mask on and continue talking to them. And it's like, that doesn't make you invisible.
Where'd she go?
Maybe they subscribe to Drax's theory of invisibility, right?
They just moving really slow.
Yes.
I mean, and listen, nothing against the actress. I think she did a good job with it, but that girl as the leader of this movement,
She's a super soldier, though.
no.
So is everyone else.
No.
Okay. So if you make her a super soldier, but you also make like Buddy a super soldier, and he was stronger before, wouldn't he still be stronger? If are they, or does it equal? Does it make everyone equally strong?
No. But that's not the qualities that you should be focusing on.
Well,
because the super soldier serum does not just improve the physical, it improves all the personality traits. So if she was a leader before, which I don't get the impression she was,
No.
then she would be more so of a leader, more just like how they said that Schmidt, the Red Skull, was bad into evil, and Steve Rogers was good into great. Uh, like it emphasizes your inner personalities, and I think we see that in Walker as well. But specifically, the Flag Smashers, it just seems like we never were given a reason why they were following her specifically. Why were they following her agenda? Why was she the leader of this movement? None of those reasons were given whatsoever. It was just, here's the leader of this movement. Let's not question it, even though her personality didn't seem really on solid ground, because when Sam first meets her and talks to her alone, one on one, she practically falls apart until fisticuffs start occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, there's 8 super soldiers that are part of this Flag Smasher sort of, I guess, group elite strike force. All of them, all but one die, and the other one goes to prison. In this story.
Actually, no, is all of them die
No,
except
you're forgetting about Diego. Diego was taken into custody.
Diego was taken into custody with the rest of them, weren't they? There were 6 of them that were in the truck, and the truck exploded.
In the episode One World, One People, wasn't he taken into custody?
He's taken into custody in the back of the van with the rest of the people that they rounded up, and then he got
blown up though.
Yeah, Alfred blew them up.
Alfred,
blew them up.
Sokovia and Alfred.
Sokovia and Alfred.
Yes.
Right, it was always Sokovia and Alfred.
But there was a bunch of them in that van.
Was Diego one of them?
Yeah, he was taken into the van with the other of them.
No,
they
okay,
were.
He's dead. Then he's dead. They're all dead.
Yes, all of them are dead because, what's the name got shot. The guy got shot at the airport. Then
one guy got decapitated with the shield.
Yes, that's 2. One was killed by Sharon in the car, right? And then 4 were captured. And then Diego was captured separately and put in the van with the rest of the group. And then they.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but I think what we kind of learned by the end of these 6 episodes is that Carly is sort of a sympathetic character, or supposed to be. We're supposed to sympathize with her cause, what she's going through, what she's trying to accomplish. And I think she's anti-nationalist, right? She's anti-country. She's saying one world, one people. That's directly in antithesis to a character like Captain America, who represents a country, right? So if she's thinking of this as like, we're just one planet, one people, I'm trying to tear down those lines, and you're the exact opposite of that, then I don't know how they can necessarily come into alignment.
Sam and Steve always felt that Captain America was for the entire world, right? Whereas John Walker's opinion of the world was, I have a country to live up. I have to live up to the role set forth by the government. I'm doing the job that they ask of me, right? Which seemed very specific. Like, a lot of his actions were dedicated towards America, as opposed to Sam, Bucky, even Zemo had a grander sense of the world and was really taking stock of what was happening around them worldwide, right? And you see how they react when they're out in the world, going from place to place. They're always observing the world that's happening around them. Whereas whenever John Walker is in a different place, he is very focused on what his agenda is. Right. So if we watch the series, he never really takes stock in comments about the world around him.
Yeah.
Right.
He's following orders. Steve Rogers always, from the beginning, was doing what was right.
Yeah. Right. And okay, let's talk about John Walker next, because we were bringing him up quite a bit. He is so by the end of this episode, this first episode, they have given we meet Sarah and the sister. Maybe we'll come back to her, but let's talk about him first. John Walker, he gets the shield at the end of episode 1. He's like him and Lamar Hodgkins. They're a team for a good portion of this story. Of course, John Walker is known in the comic books as U.S. Agent. Has he also been Captain America too, Jaemeel?
Yeah, he was Captain America too.
Yeah, he was Captain America too, but he ends up as U.S. Agent by the end of this series, which is kind of where he's destined to be anyway. But he's full on Captain America, as played by Wyatt Russell, I believe.
Yep.
Who is the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. He's been in some other things like Black Mirror and different things. So he's apparently he was getting death threats and was not doing
Yes,
so.
he was.
People who's taking this so seriously that they need to do such heinous things.
People who have a lot of problems. And so what I find hilarious is a lot of the worries that Sam was worrying about taking up the role as Captain America, and the the feedback he would have gotten, and the anger is what Russell Wyatt got for playing this character. When you play a character way too well and people just hate you for it, i.e. the Game of Thrones character situation where
Like a
you know
Cersei Lannister,
Cersei, what's
Joffrey.
Joffrey, yeah, where people just hate your character so much that that they put it onto you.
Yeah, they utterly despise you so much that they must think that you as a person must be this vile.
Yeah, like I think that's well, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing in a way, because it's like, I'm such a good actor that people hate me. If you're a wrestler, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what did you think of John Walker, Ashley, the character?
I mean, the actor did a great job at portraying what he was supposed to portray in the series. Did I need the character in the series or ever in my life? No.
Really? You could do
Yeah.
without this character.
I don't like him. I don't want US Agent. I don't.
Even as a villain?
No, it doesn't even seem like a compelling villain. Like, he just seems just blah. He is just the beige of the MCU.
I do you view him as a villain, Dave?
I think I do. I think he's not a black and white villain, if you will, or sort of like a pure like a black hat kind of guy. He's sort of a middle ground guy. You know, he means well, but he's
decided. He is what happens when there's too much patriotism, blind patriotism.
Yeah,
and then when things go wrong, the anger that bubbles up from these people who feel betrayed by their country, not understanding that like both them and their country can be wrong, right? And not being able to kind of understand and live with that aspect. Like in Captain America 2, like Steve Rogers realizes that, right? He understands, like, we're going down a dangerous path and I don't want to go down this path with you. He questioned his government, right? Before the fall. Whereas uh, John, he has repeatedly done bad things on the orders of the government, and now that he stepped too far and did something wrong, they didn't have his back, and he feels that anger towards them. It's like, I did all these horrible things, right? I did what I thought was right, and you didn't back me up. And
they gave him 3 medals of honor.
He got 3 medals of honor with what happened, right? His response to that whole situation where a lot of people died, right? And he had to do some terrible stuff. They didn't really go into detail, but because he survived, he got 3 medals of honor. Even Battlestar was saying that if they had the super soldier, how many people would they have saved? But I get the sense from that line that they're not talking about in like a peaceful resolution type of way. It means overpowering the enemies and being able to save a whole bunch of people, which wasn't necessarily Captain America's thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America's thought process is how many people I can save because I want to save people, not necessarily because I want to kill people. When Captain America gets his powers, the question the doctor asks him is like, are you trying to enlist so you can kill Nazis? And he's like, I don't really want to kill anyone. I just want to do what I can for my country and save people.
I just don't like bullies, sir.
I don't like bullies. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Well, I struggled with this. Maybe this is the other thing I didn't like about the first Captain America movie so much, because so much of that story is focused on Steve Rogers going around doing USO shows. And even to start this second episode, we get this whole scene with John Walker in the locker room, I guess, of this high school, and Lamar Hodgkins comes in, and we meet his wife as well in that episode. And he does. First of all, it is an amazing, spectacular, like over the top, star spangled mess. But
Mess.
yeah, it is something else. Because as a non-American, I'm just like, oh my god, do Americans enjoy this? Do they enjoy this or not?
Halftime shows with drum lines and stuff, people eat them up, and they're a sight to behold. They're really awesome. I just like, please do not besmirch Star Spangled Man, the song, and the USO sequence. I thought that was one of the better moments from Captain America: The First Avenger. And I actually think that Star Spangled Man was robbed of an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song, because that song is awesome and I still listen to it.
Yeah.
The song they played in the first movie?
Yeah.
I love that scene. I love that whole sequence. I love it.
He lifts up a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Why is this part of the job? Why is it part of going around and doing these things?
It was the whole thing for him where he does this. He goes to this basic training. He takes this super serum, and then they're like, "You're just gonna be propaganda man." And he's like, "This isn't what I signed up for," but he does it because they tell him it's gonna help.
He is a monkey on a bicycle.
Yeah, so that was Steve Rogers following orders. I like the Steve Rogers in the second movie who doesn't follow orders blindly anymore and goes on his own way.
But he switches and doesn't follow orders in the first movie. They're like, stay here. You are propaganda man. You are Star Spangled Man. You have another show. And he's like, nah, I'm going to save my friends.
Right. And then he forms the Howling Commandos.
The beginning of him, he doesn't follow orders. And he goes and does his thing.
That's when the movie starts to pick up.
He takes that's when the movie always picked up. That's just like him just taking the power doesn't mean anything unless he is powerless first. And
Tommy Lee Jones was a jerk in that movie. He was making him go around
in that movie.
He was a jerk, but he played the role of the government who thought of strength as only being physical strength and not strength of character. Right? Hodge was his choice. Hodge was a bully, right? When the grenade was thrown, Hodge hid behind a car while Steve jumped on the grenade, the fake grenade. Hodge was the one who tried to climb up the flag post, whereas Steve stood back, understood what was happening, and easily dismantled the flag so it fell to the ground, right? That's the differences of the characters. It was being presented that this dude is different than just your meathead, army dude.
Right. But did they learn nothing from the fact that they had all those recruits to be the Captain America the first time? And it wasn't all of like the Boy Scout types. It was the run to the litter, if you will, with Steve Rogers, who ended up being the best option to give the super soldier serum to.
No, they didn't. And that's the whole point of John Walker.
Yeah.
And
they've learned their lesson now.
Here, I didn't want to get into this until later on. John Walker, as a character presented in this, is supposed to be an example of the status quo, right? The status quo of the military, status quo of America, right? And how he is military, has a seemingly clear record. He's not necessarily a bad dude, right?
Right.
But he is there to represent the entirety of the nation, right? And old ideas don't necessarily match up with the current society and its standards, right? Right.
Well, okay,
going into and with fisticuffs isn't going to solve all your issues, right? And that's what John is. John is an army dude who goes in and solves problems using this and this.
So does Steve Rogers.
Not even Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers did most of his work when he talked about Hydra to the SHIELD agents, where he was an example of of being a good dude and inspired individuals.
Let me ask you this. When Sam Wilson gives up that shield at the beginning of the series, right? He thought it was just going to sit in a museum, right? He's like, better that nobody has this. Like, I don't want to replace Steve Rogers, so therefore I don't, and plus he knew people would be mad at him, Jaemeel. But then they hand it off to this guy, and the whole thing about we don't want a black Captain America.
Well, they never state that. They never
state that, but they don't ask him, hey, the senator guy doesn't go, do you want to reconsider? Because that's what Rhodey does. Rhodey says, why don't you become Captain America? Or maybe you shouldn't have done this. Like, I don't know if this was the best thing.
So it becomes an unspoken thing. So just like in Hollywood, you would present certain ideas with a default. So let's say situations occur and they're like, we need a new Captain America. So this is who they chose. Right? And we don't necessarily question it, right? Because one, the power was given up, and then two, the power was given to another. So it isn't the matter that we need a white Captain America. It is the default Captain America is white, as opposed to we need to find who best is suited for this role.
And his eyes happen to be blue and his hair happens to be blonde.
That's just how the cookie crumbles, isn't it?
Who's to say? Like,
plus,
right?
You're trying to market this to America, and the optics are a lot easier to digest for some people if that is what the Captain America you do receive.
Okay, I guess. Well, what about Lamar? What about Lamar Hodgkins? He could have been Captain America.
And that is something that was never pursued or talked about, which would have been an interesting conversation. But also, if you're his friend, you said, hey, I could have been Captain America and you could have been my Battlestar. Right? Well, seeing how fragile your dude is, are you going to have that conversation?
No, I guess not. Did you like him? Did you like Lamar Hodgkins, Ashley?
He was there.
Yes.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there.
He wasn't until he got kicked into a post.
Yeah, like yeah. I didn't care about him. There's so many characters in this that they literally just coasted, just scratched the surface. That you were like, it's my same issue with the girl that's the leader of the movement, the flag
smashers.
They scratch the surface. Like, they don't make you care. So it seems like at the end, when there's this big epic scene, you're just like, I don't care, because they just coasted on some of the story. And I was like, I don't care about any of this. They could have, like I said, the Flag Smashers could have been such a great story, but they didn't dive deep enough on it. And they missed an opportunity with that. You just don't care about them.
Yeah, okay, but there's some other storylines in this in this show, and it turns out that the Flag Smashers aren't really what matters. It turns out to be Power Broker and some other things. But so while we're on the Captain America topic, we also meet this Isaiah Bradley character in episode, is it 2? I think
episode
it's
2.
Yeah, it's episode 2, because they need to kind of find something out about where to look, about the super soldier serum. So Bucky's like, let's look up Isaiah, who I guess they met in 1951 when they were both engaged in the Korean War. At that time, Bucky was the Winter Soldier fighting for Hydra and probably doing some insidious stuff. And Isaiah Bradley, we learn from the story Red, White, and Black. It's called Truth, right? Is that what it's called? Truth, yes, Red, White, and Black. Because Isaiah Bradley was like, he was given the super soldier serum after Steve Rogers, and it worked for him, but because of his race, the government was having none of it, and they threw him into jail for 30 years, and they did experiments on him. He doesn't love America.
Did I miss? Did they explain how he was given the super soldier serum after Steve Rogers?
Well, only what you can read on that plaque in the museum at the very end, very quickly.
They kind of talk about
Did
it.
they have any more serum after Steve Rogers? Like, I'm just wondering, like, where did they
So,
get it?
okay, so what happened was um, they were working on the super soldier serum, and just like the Tuskegee experiments, they took a lot of POCs, and they would, black men specifically, and they were giving them the serum. The people would die with different versions of it, and they would just sweep the bodies away, just sweep the
Okay.
bodies away. And what was left was this unit of the people that um, it was able to work for, like this group of like 6 people. So they had them go and kind of drop them into like ops and take care of stuff. And Isaiah was basically the last person to survive from it.
Okay, so it
Um,
was them like trying to recreate the original serum.
yes, in I need to reread it again.
Okay.
My thought process was that they were trying from since before, right? And this is just the end result of the experiments trying to recreate it. Yes.
Okay.
Uh, so uh, he disobeyed orders to go and save men, a la Steve Rogers, and they got him, and then they went and they were doing tests. Now at that time, understand that Hydra had already infiltrated Shield.
Yeah.
Uh, so when he says the line, they did experiments on me, even your kind wasn't done with me yet. So also Hydra was also doing experiments on him while he was being captured.
Okay.
Right. So uh, he was jailed for 30 years during that entire time, experimented on constantly, and then was released. So
how old is Isaiah
sorry,
Bradley then?
he wasn't released. Sorry, he wasn't released. He escaped due to the nurse helping him escape by presenting him as being dead.
Yeah.
So he was presumed dead. How old is he?
Well, okay, so he was around in 1951, so he's at least born probably around 1931 or so, right? So he's probably like 90 years old.
Yeah, about that.
But if he was blipped, maybe the 5 years.
So a lot of these things don't really matter in terms of the blip for him as a character. Um, I think that if we start seeing more about his nephew, not his nephew, sorry,
grandson.
grandson. If we see more about his grandson's story, then we might get more details about where he was and what happened. But in the idea of the Falcon, the Winter Soldier, what we get from Isaiah's story is that this is a man who um, was basically betrayed by his country, tortured, and imprisoned for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And so he has no reason, understandably so, to feel compelled to do anything for this country. He hates this country for 30 years of constant torture.
Right.
So,
but he started off loving it, right? And that's kind of like his arc, right?
When you say loving it, you live in it, right? So I would say loving is pretty strong.
Well, that's just what it says here on this on the Marvel wiki. It says Bradley was as a patriot, deeply believing in American values. He was willing to join the Korean War and even fight and defeat another super soldier deep behind enemy lines. Now, this is whoever wrote this on this wiki, so maybe that's an interpretation.
Are they talking about Isaiah Bradley from the comic books or from the movies?
We're talking about from the Marvel, the MCU version of Isaiah Bradley. But maybe
even
that's
more
not fair.
so, if he loved, let's say he did love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
For it to turn around like that, where you're imprisoned and tortured for 30 years for what you felt was fighting for your country, you'd feel extremely bitter towards.
I'm not saying I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I just saying he definitely does. He was like, "Get out of my house," and he was not too happy. and justifiably so.
You wouldn't want to see a member of Hydra just show up at your door.
Yeah, he was not too happy to see Bucky, and he was not too impressed with Sam Wilson either, really. Although he was pretty easy on him. So they throw him out. There was that whole scene where Sam got arrested because, hey, is he bugging you, this guy? Right? Because the cops were worried that Bucky was being harassed, and then they ended up arresting Bucky.
Yeah.
By the end for not going to his therapy session. But
once again, you see the whole why don't you have IDs? Like, just show him your ID. It's like, I'm not going to show him my ID. I don't have no reason to, which is kind of like once again going to episode 5 where Bucky never understood the hurdles that Sam has to face as being a black man in America. So like him like, oh yeah, if you show him your ID, all the issues are going to go away, which isn't necessarily the case, right? And Sam having that, the inherent issues that come with being black in America is like, I'm not showing him an ID. I did nothing wrong. I'm conversating with this guy. You need to move on and actually deal with other stuff.
Yeah. It was. It's definitely a big theme of the show, and I thought it was a good scene. I thought it was well done. And then Bucky goes to jail. He gets bailed out by John. So John's trying to always be their buddy, John Walker, early on, right? He's like, "Hey, buddy, we're gonna work together, and we're like the other cops that are to your buddy cop thing." And we have like sort of that dynamic going on, like they do in a lot of.
He wants his own Howling Commandos, basically.
He wants his own
them
version
to be
of that.
his sidekick, and even says so as much. And that's what kind of like Sam is on board. Is like, I'm willing to give this dude a second chance, like a chance. And then when the line comes in where he's like, I want you to follow me just like you did for Captain. He basically equates them to being a sidekick.
He says, right? I need you to be my wingman, just like you were for Steve. And he was like, yes, yeah.
And it's like, it's always that last line.
Steve would never have called me the wingman, even though it's funny.
Because Steve always looked to them as equals.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, Steve would treat people like equals, for sure. And we get this whole sequence with Bucky and Sam, like staring competition, everything going on with that. That was funny.
He always stares.
He's always staring. Yes,
always staring.
Yeah, so by the end of the second episode, they're like, "Hey, we're not going to work with you. You guys are Boy Scouts. You have to tell the government what you're doing. We're free agents. We're independent contractors. Let us do our thing." And Bucky's like, "I got no more leads. We're gonna have to go talk to Baron Zemo or Helmut Zemo because they don't know he's a Baron yet."
But even before that, like John Walker tells them, "If you're not going to be on board, stay out of my way."
Yeah, he gives them this like, "Stay out of my way," and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, who are you again? Yeah. Like, you just got here this episode, or like at the end of the first episode, but we barely know you. Like, we're the Avengers, man. We were fighting Thanos like 6 months ago. We were in the shit,
Yeah.
I came out of that portal and I stuck my Falcon wings right into a big like Thanos Rhino thing or whatever was coming with Thanos in the Space Army. So they're not taking any guff off you, John Walker, or you, Lamar Hodgkins.
I like how you say his entire name. You say.
I always just want to call him Lamar Hodgkins. It's the best.
Not Battlestar.
Battlestar
is a lame name. I don't care what anyone says. That's lame.
Agreed.
It's supposed to be a patriotic name.
It's stupid.
It is.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit though about Baron Zemo or Helmut Zemo? He's back. Oh, that's not her. That's not him. Here he is with the mask. Okay. He's back. Daniel Bruhl. This is longer than he wore the mask in the show. Now that I've had it up on the screen for about 10 seconds. But that's, he did wear it for a couple seconds. So let's soak it in. So Bucky goes to see him in episode 3. says you must be desperate, you need me, whatever. But and then Bucky leaves and kind of knows he's going to break out of prison, but isn't going to stop it either. And so that's exactly what he does, right? He by the end of that third episode, he's kind of joined their gang. He's kind of like the Joe Pesci to the Mel Gibson and Danny Glover of the Lethal Weapon situation. I think, you know, he's kind of like this. He's the old criminal they need to get together into their little crew. Or maybe even an Ocean's 11. You know, he's the Andy Garcia. He's the villain and has become your new ally to make Ocean's 12. How were you all happy to have him back in this show? Or in the MCU? I was. I thought I really enjoy that he's one of the few Marvel villains they didn't kill in the only movie they were in. That he has this potential to come back here. And in this third episode, we learn about Power Broker. I guess we get to go to Madripoor in this one too, right? This is everything to do with Madripoor. And in this, so is Madripoor ever been talked about before this show, or like? But it's a thing from the comics, right, Jaemeel?
Yes.
Okay.
Very important part of the comic books.
I kind of like it as a concept. It's kind of like this. It's Pirate City, or it's kind of like Criminal City of Earth.
Yep.
Right. We don't really have like a real life equivalent of this.
Well, technically, isn't the continent of China currently a pirate Earth, where no one basically steps in? They do whatever they want to do.
Maybe I don't read enough news. I don't think, but I thought it was kind of cool because this is where all the criminals go. But you think that this would be like this is where the Avengers would like, hey, we're here, Madripoor. You think that they'd be all over it, but no, they're sort of like in this legal gray zone. Maybe there's treaties and things like that you can't go in, and it was kind of a neat place. They have this whole cover here, so the two of them, like Baron Zemo just gets to be Baron Zemo, and Winter Soldier just has to pretend he's like Hail Hydra. But they have to make Sam Wilson. They make him the tiger character or something. He's some kind of like African supervillain who drinks like little snakes out of shot glasses or whatever. The pimp suit.
Yes.
Is what you were saying? Did you enjoy all that?
I did.
I thought it was fun.
Were you obsessed with him?
Doesn't mean he's a pimp.
What did you like Baron Zemo's dancing?
Yes. I like everything about him.
Yes, he's a great character.
I love the actor. I was excited to have him back.
I just need one line, and that was saying that I would have felt a lot better if they just said, I've been in prison for more than 5 years. I've had a lot of time to think. And then if everything else was the same, I would be perfectly fine. But I felt like they didn't really do a good job of tying in where he was left off at the end of Civil War to where he is now. I felt that could have been a little bit, they could have just turned the screw a little bit, tightened that little.
Civil War was like in 2017 or
2016 was Civil War.
So that's like
Endgame happened in 2018. Sorry.
2024.
Infinite War was 2018.
18.
And then
Infinity War 2018.
The aftermath of the blip was 2023.
Right. So we're in 2023. So it has been, for them, it has been 7 years.
Yep.
Since Civil War. And so Zemo has been in prison this whole time, blipped or unblipped, unknown. But we'll say unblipped. And you know, he was in the fold here, everything else. We also, this episode 3 is called Power Broker. And speaking of, let's talk about Sharon Carter, who we have not spoken about at all. Who saw it coming?
Me.
I'm gonna also defend this. She was also a victim of the subplot cut. We see her first sequence where she is perfectly fine, and then her second sequence we see her with bloody knuckles and a busted lip. Something happened in between and it was totally cut. There are aspects of her story that doesn't really make thematical sense, but it's nice to see her character again. Um, it just seems so paint by numbers that she's the power broker, and I will still hold out hope that she isn't. She never officially says, "Yes, I am the power broker."
Oh, she's the
I'm just
power
saying.
broker, Jaemeel.
I'm just
She.
saying.
I
But
want her to be.
are you happy? It's a heel turn.
Yes, I love that shit. I love when they just throw a wrench in a character that you think is good and always will be good. And she's good all the way through the comics. I love when they just go, "No, I'm going to flick the switch." What I hate is when you think they're flipping the switch and then they go, "Just kidding, she's a Skrull." Like that, I don't want that. This was all a dream sequence. So
No, I me either.
they need to come up with, if they're not going to have her actually go dark side, then they need to come up with a good reason for this storyline that's not just she's a shapeshifter.
Right. I hope so too, because okay, she was originally introduced in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. She was like the shield spy that was planted on Steve Rogers' apartment. She was playing a nurse, if I recall correctly.
Yep. Agent
But
13.
Agent 13, and then but by the end we kind of find out she's Carter. She's related to Peggy Carter, Steve's old squeeze. And in Captain America Civil War, she's kind of the love interest in that movie, more officially, which gets even weirder because he goes back in time and he marries her aunt. But it's so that
Change her diapers. Like he babysat for sure. If it
yeah, but it might have been an alternate dimension. It might be an alternate dimension, so it might not count.
It
It's
counts. I'm
it
sorry,
counts.
it counts.
It counts.
It counts.
It's a great niece.
He's babysitting the great niece and changing her diapers. Weird.
Yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
I think it was a bit of a miscalculation. I don't think they were planning to send Steve Rogers when they made that movie back in time.
Oh,
Still, that was a bad decision in Civil War. I don't care. So your main squeeze passes away, and whether it be a couple of weeks or a month or so later, you're you're having a deep kiss with her niece. Nah, man, that's not the Star Spangled Man I know.
He had a lapse in judgment. It's one kiss. Well, he's still a virgin, probably. All those things. But okay, Sharon Carter. So her character was kind of languishing, I think, after Civil War, because everyone was not super receptive to that romance, knowing this other connection and whatever else. Even more so after Endgame, and the fact that that Steve Rogers character had sort of been completed, and so that was out there. So if you're going to bring back Emily Van Camp as the Sharon Carter, why not have this angle? But I think that this reveal, her being the power broker, was too obvious.
yeah, wasn't a surprise.
They needed to do more to not make us realize it's going to be her. But much like it was Agatha all along in WandaVision, it was Sharon all along here. And it was so, because I think maybe that also was like just making me go that, well, they're going to do the same thing here.
But okay, let's also take a step back for a second. What did the power broker do that was wrong in this series?
She was going to kill Carly and her friends for stealing the super soldier serum.
Okay, but they stole property that didn't belong to them. Not
Murder's
just
not the
they were working for her. They betrayed the power broker. They were the power broker's personal, like, armed bodyguards, and they left to take up this cause.
Didn't she kill the guy, the super soldier serum guy?
The one in the van?
Yeah, or was that Bucky?
No, that was, she killed him with with the spray, with the ball spray, the balls.
No, the scientist guy who made the
No, that was Zemo. Zemo shot him dead.
Oh, Zemo shot him, right? Zemo shot. It's all a blur, but yeah.
So Zemo shot him dead. So um she did two things. She hired Batroc at the beginning and also at the end, right? And
Mhm.
all the rest of the stuff that she did wrong was unrelated to the actual plot of this series. The power broker. I shouldn't say she specifically.
Okay, but the part at the end, she shoots Carly, and that was wrong.
And if there was a cop nearby, a cop would have shot Carly as well. So I don't necessarily think that it's fair to specifically point that out as doing something wrong.
And then
I'm
Sam got her a pardon.
I'm sure she's shot a lot of people as a shield agent.
Yeah.
Well, she's not. She's. I'm against her. I'm on the record.
If it was Black Widow, like would Black Widow not shot Carly right there?
Yes.
No, Black Widow would have grabbed her around the neck with her knees and would have done a spin thing and would have got her off and then would have just pinned her down.
No.
That's what Black Widow does. She grabs you with her legs and she does like a little scissor thing and then she goes and then she.
I
Am
mean,
I wrong?
Let's just say, interested to see what they do with this power broker character and Sharon. And I hope it's not just they make it this thing with the cutscene and everything, and where we're like, this is going to be great. They're doing something with her, and they were just like, it all took place on the holodeck.
No, I think it will. It will stay through, and I think she is effectively the big bad for this series, depending on how many seasons of this Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because, like we were saying, like we don't know if WandaVision is a one and done. We felt like it might be, but this feels like it's meant to continue beyond this, more so to me. I feel like
they could.
They could.
The question, I guess, becomes how long do you keep Power Broker sort of like unknown to the main characters, Bucky and Sam, like that she is a bad guy and not with them? How long can you keep that up for? One season? For more than one season?
So I'm of the opinion that series aren't guaranteed. And I think that these characters will appear in other things. I think that they all have a role to play going forward. And I think a lot of the criticism of this show in general is it doesn't really push the narrative of the world forward. But I think that a lot of things are in a holding pattern and just rearranging pieces so that for the new phases that come up, the characters are already in alignment to what their next step is going to be. So who's going to lead the Avengers? We don't know. Could be the new Captain America, or the new Captain America just be a member of it. Is the Power Broker going to be involved with whatever happens on Earth? Because we start seeing a lot of things happening outside of Earth or in alternate dimensions. Or is that going to just be on the TV side and the Power Broker is going to be a villain on the TV side? I'm just kind of taking a wait and see approach, and it's just positioning pieces on the board, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Anything else maybe on Sharon Carter?
It was good seeing her back, and that fight sequence in the by the storage containers was awesome. It was nice to see her get some presentation of being what an awesome fighter she actually is.
Right. Okay, and then there was this whole thing with like the super soldier serum and everything else, and I was not super into it because this scientist, as we mentioned, got killed by Zemo. And then they get out of there. There's this whole deal they make with Sharon Carter, but when they make this deal with Sharon, it's kind of clear to me that she's kind of shady. Even then, they kind of hint it a little bit too obvious, I guess, so that because they were talking about this in the making of, like, you can't drop it out of nowhere, but you can't make it too obvious. I'm like, you can. It's better to drop it out of nowhere, make it less and less obvious if you're going to make it flipped like that. And that takes us to we go to sometimes we go to Lithuania, which apparently is kind of absorbed part of Sokovia. Is that what it was? Or Sokovia is not really a place anymore. It's now been absorbed into the neighbors. So that's kind of
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Like,
well, was Sokovia just one city?
isn't the nation of Sokovia?
I thought it was a nation, but it must have been a small nation because obviously a big chunk of it got lifted up into the sky by Ultron.
But like, if the
And
capital city that was a major source of uh, of the GDP of a nation is basically destroyed, it would basically cripple the nation, would it not?
Yeah.
I was
So,
saying,
so that was it. And during 5 years away with the blip, I could absolutely see it being absorbed. So,
right. So, yeah. So Lithuania, Latvia are mentioned here. They end up going to Latvia, and at the end of episode 3, we got Ao from the Dora Milaje from Wakanda. She's like, we're here for Zemo. We know he got out and he killed the T'Chaka. Remember that back in Civil War? Remember T'Chaka at the UN?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we haven't forgotten. Which Sam mentions quite a bit of this in dialogue in episode 3 after he's broken out. Episode 4 is Io giving Bucky 8 hours to hand over Zemo because he's like, hey, we need Zemo. We're doing this case and whatever. And she's like, listen up, White Wolf. We're not putting up with this crap anymore.
Please narrate all Marvel stuff going forward. Listen up, White Wolf.
Is that what you said? Okay, well, hey, we should also probably mention Io. Is that how you say it? Io. Just bring it up here. She's big part of this 4th episode. She even gets into a little of a fight here at the end with John Walker and Lamar Hodgkins and all of them. And I like that it's the same actor from like Civil War, where they kind of teased that maybe she was gonna like have a fight with like Black Widow there. Back in that one, and T'Challa's like, I would love to see that. It would be great. Just to see what would happen. He didn't quite say it like that, but he has a different accent. Yeah, so
thank you for not attempting the accent. I appreciate it.
I know I can do it a little bit, but
no, you can't do it a little bit. Don't do it. No, I don't even do it. Today? No.
It's like I did it for a radio theater once, right after he died. It was not bad.
True, that is legit. You did do it.
See, you need to go back and watch.
It's a fake accent. You can do it. It's not a real country. And what else we got here? Yeah, so we had some flashbacks here with like Bucky in Wakanda and some of his time there when he was like doing like some of the meditations he went through to sort of like be cured of his like Hydra brainwashing and programming and things like that.
So interesting note, they say that when he is cleared of that, that's the last time for the rest of the series you actually hear the Winter Soldier theme music, the theme that they've been using since the Winter Soldier Captain America. You don't hear it after that moment, meaning that he's free from that programming.
Okay, so there's a Winter Soldier music.
It's like an eerie, like tone that is played whenever his scenes are, and they've dropped it in the beginning of the series as well. So they stop playing. You never hear it again after that point. So
like that's to show that they helped him like become cured. And he talked about that in like the first episode in like the therapy where he was like, I've been going for like 90 years from one fight to a fight, and I had a moment of peace in Wakanda. And then the Infinity War kicked off, and and then I was turned into dust for 5 years. But I'm back, baby. I'm back, and I'm ready to make amends. And also there was all this like other storyline with like Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers and the funeral for her adoptive mother, and them conflicting with Walker and Hoskins. Oh, sorry, it's not Hodgkins. It's Hoskins. It's non-Hodgkin type.
There's super cut of him just saying the name over and over again.
Lamar Hoskins, as it said. That stuff wasn't really catching my attention too much. Like all the subplot with the Flag Smashers and their candle vigil and everything else. But I did like the scene with like Sam Wilson trying to connect with Carly and him trying to reach her through not just like, I'm going to come in and do fisticuffs like you were mentioning. He's not like Walker in that way, but he can do fisticuffs.
This whole show could have ended right there if he was given the 5 minutes. Right?
True.
It felt like it. It felt like there was coming to a resolution of some sort.
Yeah.
Right.
But
But also
Wilson,
it also spurred her to kind of reveal her feelings about the GRC, American propaganda, and what the shield has become a symbol of.
And what is the shield a symbol of? I can't remember what she said exactly, but
it's of an old regime of
the way things
ideals.
were before. It's like it's the past. It's not the future. It's kind
Correct.
of her future is wearing masks with a red hand painted on the front.
Well, keep in mind how much did Captain America actually work during the blip? Because what we more or less saw was, one, he didn't have the shield.
No, he didn't have the shield. No.
And two, he was like a counselor in New
Tony
York.
Stark had it in his garage for those 5 years, and for some time before that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like they didn't
after Civil War.
Yeah, I took it after Civil War. Or like, yeah, like Steve's like, he's like, you don't deserve it, and Steve's like, fine, keep it. I don't need it.
Yeah, just throws it on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll get a Wakandan shield later on. It'll be better. Maybe not as good, but I'll get through it. Yeah, but he gives it to him back into him in Endgame, and then it gets smashed. Right? He got smashed in Endgame. Remember Thanos? And he had to like tie it up to his arm, but then it came back.
Yeah.
Why'd it come back?
Would it come back? It could have came back from the past. It could have been a new one.
Yeah, I think it was from another dimension or something.
Alternate timeline.
Alternate time.
They went to so many different timelines.
They went to so many, which they said were alternate dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna.
Well, he
went to the past.
Okay, and in this 4th episode, this is the one where, in this whole mess where this conversation goes wrong, and Walker jumps in, and so most of the super serum ends up with Carly. She runs into Zemo. Zemo gets her. He smashes most of it. He destroys most of it. There's a moment where we think Zemo might take the super soldier serum, but doesn't.
He never wanted that power.
He hates super.
He hates it.
That's what I like. I appreciate the Zemo character is that he's consistent.
Yeah.
Right. In how he behaves.
Smash them. He hates it. His purpose is to destroy that stuff.
Yeah. He wants to destroy anybody who's super powered like this, including Bucky, and anybody.
He does not trust them at all.
No.
Right.
And the only exception that has occurred was Steve Rogers.
And he didn't even like Steve Rogers.
Well, it's not the matter that he didn't like Steve Rogers. He didn't like the idea of these overreaching, powerful individuals and the influence they would have on society, right? Avengers as a group was a dangerous thing to him, right? And keep in mind, he had all that plan. His plan wasn't to mentally break or attack Steve Rogers, because he could not find anything, right? Steve Rogers' big thing that he dealt with was with Bucky, right?
Yeah.
So how did he break up the Avengers? He looked at where it was vulnerable, and what was vulnerable was actually Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm. And this history,
and
this secret in this history, yeah. Fair enough. All right. So, but okay, in this fight that kind of breaks out here, Zemo he gets hit in the head with the shield. By how that doesn't kill him, I don't know. But
A lot of
he
people
sort
get hit in the head with the shield. I would suspect you just get a concussion.
it looked rough because it bounced right back into his arm too. So I'm like, how hard did that hit you in the head? It anyway, it doesn't really matter. But so Walker ends up with the super soldier serum, kind of planted in his glove. There's this scene where I don't know, I guess it's a flashback where he's talking to Lamar in like a food court or something.
Oh no, it happens right after.
It happens right after. Is this in
Yeah.
Latvia?
It's still in Latvia, but he
Okay,
hasn't taken the serum as of yet. That's what I believe that he took it afterwards.
Okay, so this was in real. This was happening. I didn't know when this was happening. This whole scene where he's talking to Lamar here.
So after he's defeated by the Dora Milaje, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, he admits to himself, he's like, I can't even win this battle. They're not even super soldiers, and I was so utterly outclassed.
I love in that fight when Bucky goes, "Looking strong, John."
We should help. Looking strong, John.
Right, and they do help once the Dora Milaje turn like homicidal and actually start like trying to kill them.
Homicidal. I don't think they were. I think that they were looking to put this man down.
Well, they were using their spears a little bit. Like the thrusts would, if they were not blocked in a few cases by Bucky and by Sam, they would have been not. They would have done some damage at least.
Damage, but not necessarily kill them.
No, it wouldn't have been nice. So,
I mean, it's not a fair fight. Like, he's all disappointed in this that he was defeated by them, but it's like taking a Marine and putting them against fighting like a legit ninja. Like someone who has trained their entire life to be what they are, and then someone who went to basic training for 6 months and then to war for a couple of years. Like, a Marine against a ninja, not a fair fight. Like a legit ninja.
Yeah. And plus,
it puts forward the thing where he's like, I have to take this because Captain America had this and he could, but it's not a fair, like almost no one could defeat these ladies. Like, it's just insane.
Like, Bucky has super soldier serum in him, has the vibranium arm, and still he was basically soundly defeated. Like,
we see that whole thing where she can turn the arm off. She knows where the off button is.
Yeah, they spend their entire lives training for this. It just goes to show you how badass these ladies from Wakanda really are.
Dora Milaje.
Yeah.
Like, and plus, they're not fighting in an ideal setting for John Walker to excel at. It's not an open area. It's tight quarters. He does not have a gun, right? These are the things that he's used to. Battlestar is basically there to get beaten up and captured. Right? Like, literally, he's what? His extra set of eyes, basically.
Watch his back. Yeah.
Even like Sam can't do much because his fighting skill is based primarily around having his wings.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Right. But okay, he does take this serum after this fight.
Zemo escapes.
Right. Zemo escapes. Yes, let's not forget about that part. And also, but they also catch her. When do they get Zemo back? I can't remember.
Zemo they run up to him it's in episode 5 where
it's in the next episode they get it back. Okay, so this is still in 4, and so Zemo gets away, and there's this whole final kind of fight between the Walker and Hoskins, and
so I think you're missing an important part about it. So what Carly realizes is that I need to do something that really matters and has the world talking. And she basically alludes to that she needs to, why she also mentioned that she does not want to kill Sam. Right?
Oh, yeah. After she called up Sarah to threaten her.
Yeah. And
so try not to kill your brother. But I'm a good guy.
she calls Sam also calls Sharon and asks Sharon to use satellite support. What people don't realize and what might have missed is that satellite support was to track where John Walker was, because Sam realizes that they weren't after him, they were after John. So when they got eyes on John, that's when they departed and went going to him. Carly already knew where they were because he was just keeping Sam and Bucky out of that whole situation, right? So that they
Right.
can kill John. Their whole intention of that scene was to kill John.
Oh, Carly
Carly.
was we could kill John Walker.
Yeah, that was her whole intention. That's why
Right.
she captured Battlestar to put him aside, so he was out of the way. Like when she runs up, right? She goes to kill John Walker, and then when Sam gets involved, sorry, when Battlestar comes in and stops her, right? She in a rage kicks him, and he goes and dies that method.
Right. He gets killed in this fight here, right?
Yes.
So by Carly, and then he kind of goes crazy a little bit here. He's enraged, but he knows that it's Carly who did it,
Yes, he does.
right? But she gets away, so he goes after this other member of the group. Who cares what his name is? And it doesn't matter. And then, right in like in the Latvian town square or whatever it is, like it like felt like it felt like they stayed in this one square block in Latvia, probably because of COVID restrictions. Doesn't matter. But it's yeah, he kills this guy with the shield, like like pretty brutally, like everybody with their iPhones. It's and like it's just Sam and Bucky looking at him and going, "Oh man, what did you do?"
Yep. So
And
just imagine how bad it was to kill all those people, those Wakandan delegates, those exchange students in the beginning of Civil War, where only the after effects were shown on television. In this case, you brutally have on YouTube and social media the Star Spangled Man, Captain America, repeatedly striking a person who is given up and should just be captured, just
Yeah.
brutally killing him. Like that's something you can't necessarily get past.
No, well, and I think it's I think they're also this is also a commentary on, I guess, the role that the U.S. military has played around the world in some of their history.
Police brutality as well.
And police brutality as well. But in this case, like I think about like things like Vietnam War and different examples, right? And he goes over here to do good, but here he actually does a lot of bad, and he actually gets off light considering what the heinous crime he commits here. And so the next episode picks up pretty much where this leaves off, where Sam and Bucky are like, "Hey, we gotta. That's not okay what you did. So we gotta take you in." And so there's this whole fight sequence between the three of them, which in like this warehouse or something. It's like
Yeah.
it's more of a close quarters fight, which I did enjoy. I thought it was a like a good superhero type fight. They break Walker's arm in that fight, and then later on, Bucky arrests Zemo in Sokovia, hands him over to the Dora Milaje, and then
You're skipping over some like important like moments here where like Bucky and Zemo talk, and uh, he talks about, okay, you know what we have to do? We have to kill those individuals. You understand? And Bucky is is detailing to him like, I'm past that. Has his gun, points his gun at Zemo, and then proceeds to drop all of the bullets, right, to show that he's no longer that assassin. He's no longer.
But I already know
villain.
that. Yeah, I wasn't that impressed by that because I was like,
That
hey,
scene?
Bucky, I already know you're not an assassin anymore.
But the conversation, he gave Zemo a little bit of closure as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Zemo Zemo, from the time we met him, he was putting these forces up against each other to eliminate them, right? Because he cannot trust that these people are out in the world and will overstep using their power to overstep the bounds of human law, and lives will be lost due to the battles being waged, right? And Sam talked to Bucky about not trying to, you know, find the resolution in yourself. Like, don't try to make yourself do better. These people that you have harmed, you should be of service to them, right? And he went to Zemo. He could have went to Zemo not at the memorial, but understanding what Zemo has been saying, knew that Zemo felt that Memorial was important, and felt like all these superheroes, they do these battles and they don't really care about what happens to the people afterwards, right? Bucky went to meet him there because of how important it was to Zemo, and Zemo seeing that he gave himself up because he, one, saw that Bucky had indeed changed, and two, that a representative of the heroes actually did care about the aftermath and was there to the memorial, came to the memorial of a remembrance, to pay tribute. Sure, he didn't leave a flower there, but it was important to Zemo for him to meet him there.
Right. Yeah, good points. Yeah, I did skip over that. It was I didn't it didn't quite, you explained it much better than I felt about it when I was watching it. But
And that's fine. Like, look, in the grand scheme of things, we all watch these things and we get different things out of it. For me, the action wasn't as important as the personal, like, stakes involved of Sam's journey, Bucky's journey, even Zemo's journey, which I didn't think before this I really cared about. I felt like I got everything I needed out of Civil War, but like with this one, I actually cared to see that, like, where Zemo ended up as a character after this, right? How he affected both Sam and Bucky, with his views on society and leadership, and the role of Captain America, empowered individuals. Um, so
right.
like a scene like this felt very important to me. It was one of the most important things to me.
No, it's good. No, but what I found interesting too was in the next scene when John Walker's getting just a slap on the wrist for decapitating a guy with the Captain America shield.
Yeah.
And not so much that, like, okay, like I just thought that like this is sort of also a commentary on how police brutality and military, like, war crimes get overlooked and are dismissed in the name of all the other good you might do or whatever.
He was suspended with pay. He was on administrative leave.
And then
Right.
another organization took him up and he has a new job.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. And let's talk about the new character we meet in this episode who kind of recruits him. Is played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is playing Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine. I had the la, but
But don't call her Val.
don't call her Val. She goes. What?
Don't
Do you call her Val?
No, don't call her Val. She's like, don't call me Val.
Don't call me Val. She seems to be like sort of a gray character. She's obviously Julie Louis-Dreyfus, one of the great comedians of the last 2 centuries. Like comedic actors.
All time.
She's up there for me. Between Seinfeld and Veep, and now she's here. And she's been in some other things. She was in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and a number of other things. She's had a story career.
Just ended with
God.
You should have just ended there with like just Seinfeld and Veep. You overstepped, Dave. You overstepped.
No, that's one of the greatest movies of all time. That is not overstepping.
I just feel like using that as an example of the greatness of her. I think that we could do a little bit better with national.
She's been around. She's done things like, off the top of my head.
Character of hers, but I'm not a Seinfeld fan, so.
Veep. I thought that Veep was okay.
I've never watched it.
I've watched it. It's funny, but it's Seinfeld's better. But I am a fan. I'm a fan of her,
I
and
watched Veep, and I still disagree with you, Dave.
I love it. I love it.
you disagree with me that it's just okay.
No, I disagree with you that Seinfeld's better.
Oh, okay. Seinfeld is good. I'm not like I don't know. I don't. Sometimes I think Seinfeld's really good, and then other
Dave,
people
you
don't like it.
believe whatever you want to believe,
Fine.
even though it's wrong.
I love terrible shows too.
Yeah. So she was in the mix here. We only get her in this scene, and then again in the next episode. So she's intriguing to me. I think she's going to play a bigger role to come. So I'm excited about that.
You might see her in a couple of months.
In one of the other shows, like maybe Loki or something.
Let's just say prepare a summer barbecue for her.
Okay. Let's get summer barbecue for Julie Louis-Dreyfus or her character Val.
Don't call her Val.
And then Wilson leaves the damaged wings with Torres. There's that whole kind of handoff in this episode. He goes to see Isaiah Bradley, who states that Bradley says, "Hey, man, a black man cannot or should not be Captain America." And there's because the Stars and Stripes is not something he believes in anymore, and he's like, all black soldiers go to fight in wars, and they come home, people burning crosses on their front lawns, and all these things. And Sam's like, I'm from the South, man, I know, but I'm still a patriot. And so this sort of like the conflicting nature and the social commentary that ties into everything with today as well, and the last, I don't know, like 400 years, 500 years of our history, is I think good. Like I think it's probably the strongest stuff in the series. Like in terms of its weight, its poignancy.
It's hard. It's hard one. It's a difficult thing to talk about because, in general, the messaging can end up being so heavy-handed that it kind of just overwhelms the entire series. Which, let's get when we get to episode 6, I have strong feelings about certain things that were kind of being presented. But understanding that being an American, the presentation of being American and black at this point is you've dealt with all this crap throughout how many years. How can you feel beholden to this country? And Sam is understands what Isaiah went through, but he still loves the country, still loves what the country stands for, and not necessarily what the country has done, right? And wants to be that shining example, just like how Steve was, but is realizing that he needs to make peace uh, with the person he wants to be. Right? It's an identity that he's fighting the entire time. He's like, uh, how does it feel? It feels weird. It doesn't feel like it doesn't fit, right? Or it belongs to someone else. And like, no, it belongs to you. This is yours, right? And uh, people trying to figure out exactly where they fit in America, right, has always been something that's been very difficult to describe and fit for a lot of POCs, not just for Black people, but for Chinese Americans and other races. When we start talking about indigenous people, which we talked about in Big Brother for a time,
We talked about it on the Big Brother podcast, but yeah, there's in America especially, right? Because it's but not just England and Canada and other Western nations have it's not exclusively an American issue.
Correct.
But it seems to be magnified there among other things. It just on the slavery went there the longest, and the country was kind of built on slave labor, and there's a lot of issues, and all like the Jim Crow stuff and everything that's been going on there for so long, and I kind of get what Isaiah Bradley's saying, but at the same time I'm like, man, do you really believe what you're saying too?
Are you
But
coming
I
from a place of hurt as
yeah,
opposed to like
and I guess I can believe that he believes that, but it just
My take on it, on this especially when he talks about all this stuff, and I could be off base because I'm not black, I am not a man, and I'm not American. So I don't know what it's like to be a black man in America, but all of the reasons he gave why he shouldn't be a black Captain America is all the reasons there should be a black Captain America.
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you're
like
right.
we are living in a post-Obama world, like a post-Obama presidency, and like that the effects of him being president were positive. So, wouldn't Sam Wilson becoming Captain America have a positive effect? But maybe because of Isaiah Bradley, he went through hell, and so it's like I can understand a little bit, but.
Yeah.
It's like he's softening a little bit. Like in this 5th episode, he's starting to soften a bit, but he's still kind of like he's not ready to let go of the
I
pain
think
and anger.
I think Sam Wilson is winning him over a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Sam Wilson Captain America, not because he's a black Captain America, but because I'm excited for a Sam Wilson Captain America. I
Yeah.
love his character.
Which
Mhm.
is what Sam had to his journey. It wasn't just like I'm going to be the black Captain America. He is
Yes.
Sam Wilson Captain America.
Yes.
And all the trappings and the baggage of being black in that role, he understands that he has to deal with that, but he's also him, and he is not just going to be the Captain America for black people. He is the Captain America for all,
Everyone. Yeah.
which is what he kind of alludes to when he's talking to the GRC in episode 6,
Mhm.
right? He's not just saying that I saved you guys so that you can pass this law. I need you guys to really think about what you're doing and how you're impacting the individuals that are going to feel the brunt of this, the results of your decision. Same thing. He he isn't just thinking about one set of people. He is going to be a Captain America for all,
Yeah.
right? And understanding that role the best way he can is being him, being like a person as opposed to being just the shield, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Well,
what John Walker was. John Walker was like, I'm Captain America. That's who I am, but I'm Captain America. Sam Wilson is like, I am Sam Wilson, right? And I'm going to to be the best Sam Wilson I can be. Like you see him train. The whole training part is showing the fight of humans, the human spirit, right? Him growing into the role,
well,
right?
Sam also says in episode 4, like he doesn't want the super soldier serum. He doesn't want to be so
Yeah.
that's gonna set him aside from the other Captain Americas because, well, John Walker doesn't start off super soldier, but he ends up as one.
Yes.
And
Ultimately, the only power to which man should aspire is that which he exercises over himself.
some flappy wings, some flying
That's
wings with a couple red wing
that's
drones.
Ellie Weisel who says that.
But
Yeah.
and I think the big difference with Steve Rogers and the super soldier serum is if he could have been Captain America without it, he would have been. If would
Yeah.
have been allowed to have done that role without it, he absolutely would have.
Right. But it's also like he was born frail and
It-
small, and he was just that's not
But
who,
he
but
wanted to go, despite all of that, he still wanted to go to war, but they wouldn't let him. So if they had said to him, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I still think he would have done. He probably would have died in the attempt, but he still would have done it. And that's the difference with him with the super soldier serum and everyone else.
right.
He was not looking for an easy way. He
Right.
was just looking for a way.
Away.
Whereas John Walker took the super serum because he felt that he wasn't good enough,
Right.
right? As opposed to like, I can find a way to overcome.
And Sam Wilson is like, I'm good enough without it.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
need it.
And then we get this. Okay, so what happens after
So I
that?
loved the workout montage. I'm always down for a montage. I
I
love
like montages. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
it.
Montages.
Yep.
More bring them back.
All the montages. I love montages.
They really solidify things for me. I was big into the montage. This fifth episode was called Truth. This is different things. We also have the suitcase. The briefcase is delivered from the Wakandans to Wilson. That ends up being his suit. Do you want to talk about his suit now?
I hate
What is
it.
this?
Oh, really?
you
Okay.
mean?
That
Hate it.
okay.
I understand it's from the comic books. I just think the suit itself is fine. I hate the neck, the head thing with the open, like it's like both bulky and weird. I don't want it to last. I don't like it. It was taking me out of it. It was throwing me off.
Okay.
I don't like it.
So when you watch the making of documentary, you'll find out that there's a couple things with this suit that are impossible in the real world to exist. Namely, where it kind of attaches here around like the neck. It would like kind of bunch up here or there because
Yeah, I'm hoping that they change it because of that, because I don't like it.
And also, well, this is in all the Falcon scenes, like the lenses in his glasses are never actually there; they're added in post.
Yeah.
But yeah, they saw that the cowl was like bunching up here or there, depending which way his head was kind of leaning, and so they had to clean that up with visual effects. But
I like the body of the suit and the wings. I think it looks great. It goes well with the shield. I like that. But yeah, the cowl and the thing with the like it's like a weird, like he's bald on, like I don't like that.
Well, but the main Falcon thing, he never has anything on the top of his head either. Like it's always.
I know, but I just the neck.
With the Falcon thing, you only have the goggles, really.
Yeah, like I would be fine if he just had the goggles. He just needs to get rid of like from here up. I don't like it.
Doesn't need the part going around his head. You saying?
No.
You're saying.
Okay.
Like I know that they were doing the same as they were with Wanda, and they were going like the comic book suit, and I get that, but I hope it doesn't last. If he gets some Captain America movies, I hope he gets a different suit.
Okay, but that's a pretty minor grievance, I think, for the whole suit.
It throws off the entire suit for her.
It throws off the entire thing for me.
Yeah.
Like I like the whole rest of it from the shoulders down, but that needs to be fixed. It just looks awkward on him.
Okay.
I thought it looked great. I think it takes a bit of getting used to because it's so white, like all around it. But it's also different from
cleaning bill. Jeez.
Well, keeping it clean. All the
because
blood.
It's been gray and red that he's been wearing all this time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's never
all the
wearing
scuff marks on it. It's like
I think I just have to get used to it a little bit because it's so different from like the Steve Rogers and the other suits that we've seen. But I like it. I do think it's nice. It's got a little. I think that its integration with the shield and everything else is kind of fun. I never thought.
I loved him with the shield, like the foot, and then it pops
the
up.
Magnetic, yeah,
Ooh,
the magnetic.
Like that's great. Just from here up, not a fan.
Yeah.
I absolutely can understand that. I didn't mind it, but I can understand that grievance. It is awkward.
Yeah,
it is awkward.
It's just a little awkward.
Is this suit vibranium?
It's like 5% awkward, 95% awesome.
So that is a good question. I don't think so. I think the wings might be. That would be a lot of vibranium, though, if the entire suit is vibranium. I would just assume
would that not be heavy?
No, vibranium isn't that heavy because just like the shield isn't heavy. Like the kid could pick up the shield.
Well, Black Panther's suit is vibranium.
It's got some vibranium in it. It's not
vibranium mesh.
It's woven vibranium. That's why when people shoot, it absorbs the original suit, absorbs the energy and is able to expel
So
it.
let's say it has some vibranium in it. So he's bulletproof everywhere but the top of his head and where his brain is.
So
And
no, I think the wings are vibranium, and it's just
Oh,
like just like his wings before, where he'll use it as a shield. So
I gotta,
would a helmet not be a good idea?
You-
All the other Captain Americas wear helmets.
so well, okay. Paratroopers, do they wear helmets?
I think so.
I'm trying to remember a paratrooper.
Kevin, do they wear them?
I don't remember.
Kevin Millard, everyone.
In for the win. Okay. We do have to eventually end this podcast because we've been going for 2.5. But we need to get to the 6th episode, which was where he gets this new Captain America suit. And he goes, it's where it's unveiled. And so Wilson, he's on a mission to New York City to stop the Flag Smashers, which they're planning to go after the GRC, the Global Repatriation Council, which is in New York City. They're working with Baltrack, by the way, who
Via the power broker.
Power broker has secretly hired her to get into that. And Carter accidentally reveals that she is the power broker to Baltrack, and then he's like, "Well, then you would pay me 4 times as much." And she's like, "Or I'll just kill you." And that's what she does, which is what a villain would do, even though he's a bad guy too. And then Wilson attempts to reason with Carly, but that's when Carter, who's the power broker, who's definitely evil, kills her as well. And then Wilson there's a lot of action too in there. All the action with this last sequence, did you guys I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought everything where he called the senator on her earbuds, or he texted her and then he got her to put her earbuds in, and she's like, "Okay, you're gonna fly this helicopter." When
so there were specific things that I did like from the fight sequences, like in terms of storytelling, which was like John Walker with his fake shield, his
John
homemade,
Walker in the fake shield.
his fake shield. How he kind of threw down the mantle of Captain America to save that truck. So that was like a little bit of symbolism there, that he was willing to give up what seemingly was such an important part of his current identity, like I am Captain America, and kind of threw himself into the situation to do his best to save. And even with his strength alone, he still wasn't able to do it. It was Sam, the new Captain America, who came and finished the job, right? But working together, they were able to solve that problem, right? So it was a great. You didn't hear anything from John Walker saying that, I'm still Captain America. He accepted that Sam had taken over that role.
Yeah,
right.
But he still wants to be in the fray.
Well, that's why he accepted the new name,
the U.S. agent name.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah,
because he's in this
goofy,
final fight.
though. I hated that sequence.
Because then he gets to be his own thing without having to try and live up to Captain America.
Yeah.
My favorite part of all of these action sequences and stuff in the last thing is Bucky's superhero landing. And I decide if Deadpool has ruined superhero landings for me or made it better, but every time there's a superhero landing, that's all it's Deadpool in my head. But I loved, I was just like, yes, he did the superhero landing. And I loved it because it was like juxtaposed to his, where he jumps out of the plane and just lands flat on his back in the forest.
Yeah.
He's accepted his superhero role and he's got that landing. Loved it.
Dave, what about you? What was your favorite sequence?
I think it was that whole thing with the helicopter where he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take this helicopter pilot out, and then you're going to take it over." And then it was just like all the coordination. Like I guess the fact that he had the 2 Red Wings now, he had the 2 drones, and I guess seeing some of the more high tech parts of his suit, but also just seeing him be like, he's like, "I'm Captain America. I have the shield and I have wings," and him using some of that like in combination together, where he was throwing the shield, or sometimes when he get hit, but he would use like his wings to like kind of back him up. Everything to do with that kind of action, I thought, like, so because he's kind of like now a hybrid superhero where he's got these multiple skill sets coming together.
Yeah.
After he trained how to do flips. I saw him doing not too many flips here, but
It seemed like the show My Hero Academia. There's a character that passes on his power from himself to another person, and the whole point of the power is whoever gets the power takes what was previously there and adds their own personal personality to it to improve it going further. And we kind of see that. We see like the the shield usage from Steve Rogers, used in combination to with the wings of the Falcon. So his previous identity has merged with his new, mantle as Captain America. Like I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, I liked it a lot too. I thought that it was just fun seeing him fully embrace the role. I feel like like that was the arc of this series. I feel like the payoff here was worth it. And how we get here too, and then it all sort of wraps up after that. Oh well, okay. Let's talk about the speech. The speech that Sam gives here at the end to the. It's been criticized quite a bit out there. I've seen sort of like because he kind of shows up and talks to the senator and the Global Repatriation Council, and they're like, "Hey, what are we supposed to do? Like 500 million people or like 3 billion people showed up." He's like, "I don't know. Do better. Figure things out." And a lot of people are like, "Well, that's not really an answer. You're just kind of being like, I don't know, but there's got to be something." And I don't
Well, he's
know.
not supposed to have this. Like, look, let's be honest with ourselves. Is he supposed to have the answers?
No.
Like,
Well, he's giving a lecture.
he's having them look at the situation and understand that it isn't just like, oh well, we're just gonna vote and not really like they weren't looking at the entire picture. And him as Captain America saying, you need to also think about like the interests of the people that you're affecting. He's making them rethink and think harder and longer at what they're actually doing, which is great. He's not like he's bringing up the issue. He's not overstepping. He is allowing the actual process to work as it should be. Right? The GRC should stand for something more than what it currently is, which is an oppressive regime that is kicking people out of their houses. Right?
Right.
Just like how America, right, isn't just this oppressive regime, right, that has overstepped their bounds. Like it's more. It can be more, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a mixed bag.
Yes.
I like, yeah, I don't know. I just think I think as an audience, you're left kind of, I felt a little bit like, well, he's coming down saying like, this is wrong, which is fine. But then he's also like, I don't know, just do something. And you got to do something, sure. Like, and if that's the message, if that's what, if suddenly things get better because Captain America said do better, then
But Steve
okay.
Rogers has given those speeches.
Yeah, things didn't get better.
Answers to do better speeches, be better speeches without an answer.
What does he say? He says, I feel it, the stares, the judgment, and there's nothing I can do to change it, yet I'm still here. No super serum, no blonde hair, no or blue eyes.
Yeah.
The only power I have is that I believe we can do better. He's inspiring people to become better than what they are.
But then you actually have to try to do better.
So what should he do? Should he overtake the GRC and said, I'm going to make the decision Captain America style, right? John Walker style, and I'm saying we're gonna do this.
I
Right?
think
I don't
I
think
think
I'm gonna beat
no.
you to death on camera with my shield.
No, but like I think it has to. It starts with like a sense of what's the solution, right? And if identifying a problem is easy, but the solving a problem is hard, And so
But
and maybe
I think his point is we don't have a solution right now. We need to now is time now is the time to do better and come up with a better solution. It's time to go back to the drawing board and figure out a better solution.
Mhm. I'm for that.
And there
Yeah.
was already members of the council that were feeling the exact same thing, where it's like, hey, we shouldn't be just kicking out people. And they were mentioning they have the resources, or they didn't have the resources to take care of the people if we just kick them out in the street. So they're like, well, then we need to rethink about what we're doing. So their elements were already there in the council,
Yeah.
right?
And these people were people that had moved to other places to help those places out. They went to go and help these places survive for the last 5 years when they lost so many people.
Right.
And like they were there, they helped them rebuild. They helped these other countries that they weren't from and these other places. And then as soon as all these people came back after 5 years of helping these people rebuild, the people turned around and went, "We don't want you here anymore because
Hit
I'll
the bricks.
go back.
Right.
Go
So
back to your country that hasn't been your country for 5 years now." That you're not gonna have anywhere to go there either because their people are back.
right.
You've built your life
So
last 5 years, but fuck you, go away.
those people who were living in Aunt May's apartment, right? When she blipped back in, because she mentions that in Spider-Man Far From Home. She's like at the comedy show. She's like, so we're raising money for displaced people, just like the people who were in my apartment when I came back after 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So okay, you were blipped out, and we come back, and there's people living in our houses, and we're like, oh, well, I'm glad you were keeping things going for the last 5 years.
Yeah, don't touch my pops.
Don't touch my Funkos, man. But maybe they would because they thought we were dead for 5 years. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's like
Yeah, it's a hard situation. It's something that the way they did it, I don't know. It's another scratch the surface. Like I feel like this storyline should have been started in a movie and continued on for a
A
while.
show of some sort.
Like
Like-
I'm sure they will continue it on in movies as this goes on. It felt flat in this show for me. It just feels like they didn't get you to really care in the show.
And I think that's the fault of the Planet Smasher subplot. We're
Yeah,
supposed to care about the plight
sure.
of these displaced people.
Yeah.
And once that fell flat, this episode, I felt, and its resolution kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
So we have this character we care about in terms of Captain America, and he's saying a speech about something we don't really care about passionately.
And we have Sharon Carter, who is a character that they believe is good, and is this it's Sharon Carter. She's been shot and is bleeding to death, but he takes the dead bad guy and like brings her down and places her on the this is why Sharon Carter has gone dark side. Not only has she been left behind by when they all get their pardon and she's stuck because she's bad to the she's
in Madripoor trying to survive and
not get captured because now she's a traitor to the American people. And then again, they just leave her behind, just bleeding to death on the ground while he's like, here, take this terrorist and I'm going to lay her out on the bed so that she can go on the stretcher while she bleeds to death. Fuck
She
her.
she
Fuck
she,
Sharon
she called up and threatened my my sister and her sons too.
Right?
So keep in mind that Sharon wasn't just an American fugitive. She was a fugitive around the world because she
Yes.
broke the Sokovia Accords.
Accords. Yeah.
Right, she had them like all their stuff, right?
So-
Is that what she did?
Yeah, so all of these, all like Steve Rogers and all of this group that was broke the Sokovia Accords, and then they got a pardon, and they were like, "You're good," and they weren't just like, "Hey, throw Sharon Carter in there." And
She
then
was the one who got our stuff and then delivered it to the Germany airport.
and this is her point. And then they turn around and she's been shot and is literally bleeding to death, and they're just like, I'm going to just place this terrorist onto this bed.
So
Fuck Sharon Carter.
from a PR standpoint, what Sam did was right because you needed that. Like Sam wasn't there to just kill Carly. He came and he tried his best to save her life in the public eye. Like if he just had Sharon and Carly was dying in a basement of a warehouse, like that's not going to be great PR. But him like coming down, descending.
It's not great PR either way. Like, I feel like he should have laid that down and then also been like, hey, go get Sharon. She's bleeding to death.
He's like, I gotta lay her down and I'm gonna do a speed.
Okay,
Grab Sharon over there. She's going to die. She helped us out.
it says here in the mid credit scene, after receiving a full pardon, Carter rejoins the CIA, intends to use this access to sell government secrets and resources.
Yep.
Evil.
Say
But he
evil.
doesn't know she's evil and still leaves her to bleed to death.
Yeah.
True. So she was pushed into madness.
So yeah, I just feel like maybe Sharon Carter has just a small point. Just a little bit.
Do you wish she took the super soldier serum as well?
Sharon?
No, I think I'm done with super soldiers.
Yeah,
If
super soldiers.
if she took it already previously and she never let it be known.
They could write that into the story if they needed her to go toe to toe with Bucky. Like that would be the only reason.
I would say, like, from a personal standpoint, I don't understand why she wouldn't take it, because one, her aunt never got an opportunity to take it.
I think
Right.
it could. I think that could explain. Maybe that could be an explanation of why she has gone a little bit bad.
Could have said.
I'm willing. I accept it.
They do say in this series that Steve Rogers is the only one who took it it
wasn't corrupted.
it didn't corrupt him. So
But Isaiah Bradley too, though, it seems.
but did it? Because if he was pro America and then
He was jaded, but he wasn't corrupted.
yeah. So yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, he was hidden away and in jail for 30 years, so they didn't know about him.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just the two of them that it didn't corrupt. But if it corrupts everyone else, then it's entirely possible that that's the reason for her corruption. That just that tiny little thing of them not making sure that she also got a pardon, it just festered in her if she took it.
Maybe. I'm just, that was just me spitballing there. I just felt like if she had access to something that would empower her but then maybe it was stolen from her before her bodyguards were given it first, and she was waiting to see how well it would have done, and she would have taken it afterwards with the extras that they had, and she never got an opportunity.
Yeah.
I guess regardless. So the best scene from that last episode is the final scenes where you just see Sam and Bucky hanging out at the cookout, right?
Yeah.
That made
Louisiana?
that last episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bucky going from wearing the glove to hide his metal hand with a long sleeve coat to letting the kids hang off of it is like true acceptance of who he is.
Right, because he's always like trying to not show that when
Always
he's
trying to hide the arm, and then and that the battleship girl was even like, why are you wearing a glove?
Poor circulation.
bad circulation.
And then at
But
the end,
he had to wear it on both hands, right? I
the
guess
end,
to make you.
but at the end, he's letting the kids just climb on his arm and hang off his arm.
He was also sleeping off of on the couch as opposed to on the floor. He was able to
Yeah.
kind of be at ease,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, though, we kind of touched on everything.
The title changed.
The title changed at the end. Oh, here, we have to change it.
But I don't know. Is he still Winter Soldier? Should they change his name?
So this has also been talked about, how the showrunner wanted to change it to Captain America and the White Wolf.
White Wolf.
And they're like, no, Marvel was like, no, that's being too cute. You don't want to do both, which I felt was unfair.
Yes, if he's moved on from the Winter Soldier, like if they're no longer using the music and he's moved on from that, then he shouldn't be called the Winter Soldier anymore. He's not the Winter Soldier anymore.
Let's do it for them. We're doing it for them.
I would have preferred if they just said Captain America and Bucky Barnes.
Yeah. Sergeant Bucky Barnes.
Sergeant Bucky Barnes.
No, I'm going the Captain America and the White Wolf.
Captain America and Uncle Buck.
Yes.
Uncle Sam and Uncle Buck?
Yeah.
No, not Uncle Sam. He
is Uncle Sam.
No, but Uncle Buck, because the nephew.
They even call him the nephews. They call him Uncle Sam.
It's Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck.
Uncle Sam,
John Candy. John Candy. Uncle Buck.
Right. Hey, what do you say?
Did you like the series?
I did like the series. I enjoy, like, it was. I was watching it mostly on my own, because Jane was like, "I'm out. This is not for me." And so that part was a little tougher. Like, I wouldn't say, like, compared to WandaVision, it just wasn't grabbing me quite as well. But Marvel has a certain like consistency to it that, it's always going to resonate. I thought that these two, I think that everything about this was amazing. Like, they said in the making of that, like, hey, we're making a TV series, but it has to feel like a movie, right? And they did the same thing for WandaVision. And I was happy with, I want to see this continue. I want to see more stories, more adventures here with Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes continuing this thing, seeing what this Captain America thing means, what the future lies with Power Broker, Baron Zemo,
on the raft.
We got the raft. He's on the raft. We got Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character too, right? So there's a lot of new interesting threads to unravel.
Repositioning the pieces on the board for the next game.
Yeah, the next end game.
The next end game is a long way away. Like, more than 4 years at least to the next Avengers movies. They haven't announced it yet.
Right.
Or at least 2.5. At least 2.5.
I wonder what that will be, because there will be something. There will be there will be a big culmination up to something that we're probably just starting the beginnings of now.
I say New Avengers is what's going to be called.
New Avengers, or the Young Avengers, or
New Avengers, and it's going to be the name of the storyline. I feel that they're going to follow is called Breakout, which is what the comic books. It was the formation of the new Avengers team after dissemination. So after Scarlet Witch and the House of M, the Avengers broke up, and a new Avengers team was made due to a breakout that happened off the coast of New York in a prison. There was a prison break, and an Avengers team involving a lot of characters that weren't previously Avengers were called upon to come together, including Luke Cage, including Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, a whole bunch of people that haven't been Avengers before joined this new Avengers team. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we get to that. Something happens and there's a breakout.
Well, we have to have like a whole new team anyway, because like it's all, like, we got Captain Marvel now, we got Doctor Strange. Presumably, we're gonna get another Black Panther now, or a new Black Panther. There's Ant-Man as well.
But a lot of those characters, I feel they don't necessarily need to be a part of the team. Like Endgame was different. Like when you're Avenger, there's a specific situation that occurs, and it just so happens that you are either part of the team or they collect pieces to make the team to go out and solve the issue. Right? They're not like, well, uh, Thor's in space right now. We're gonna kind of wait till he comes back before we take care of this villain. Or hey, what we call the Guardians and ask them to show up and join our team to help out. Maybe only Rocket can appear, right? It all depends, right? So
Right.
let's say there isn't there is like a breakout and villains are attacking New York. You need to get all the New York heroes to come and help you.
We'll get an East Coast contingent, a West Coast contingent, even though
Yeah. So
they have
who's an
Doctor
East
Strange
Coast?
portals, they can go anywhere, but
Well, Doctor Strange is based out of
New York,
Uptown New York, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Greenwich,
Peter Parker's in Manhattan.
Queens.
Well, he lives in Queens, but he goes to school in. Isn't he going to college? In
Yeah, he goes in the city, and then you got
Yeah.
Bucky's out in Brooklyn.
No, he's in Louisiana with Sarah.
Well, now he's in Louisiana with Sarah because he's
Louisiana
moved
with
down
Sarah.
there. Yeah, he's
But
joined
like,
the family.
let's say they
Yeah, I want the Bucky Sarah cut.
Yeah, thank you,
She's shipping
Ashley. Let's say they involve some of the defenders involved. So you have Luke Cage, maybe Daredevil that's joining the team as well. It could be a different group. Miss Marvel could be joining the group, right? It could be a different combination of characters, and they have to find a way to come together, right, to solve this issue. She-Hulk might be there instead of Hulk,
She-Hulk.
who has her own TV show that's currently filming right now.
There you go. Hey, I'm excited. I'm also tired, so I feel like we have to wrap it up.
No, 3
But-
more hours.
3 more hours. Let's keep going. We're coming up to 4 actually.
No, we started at 9. It's 12 o'clock. 3 hours.
Okay, 3. Okay, good. I thought I'd lost my mind there for a minute. Okay. We've talked about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or Captain America and the White Wolf, whatever you prefer. This has been a lot of fun. I think it's been interesting to kind of talk about all this, although the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what these episodes have meant, what we've kind of got out of the WandaVision. Next, we're going to be looking ahead to Loki, which will be debuting on June 11th. So it's a few weeks away.
Are we going to talk about Loki before Black Widow? Because Black Widow comes out first before Loki concludes.
Oh, we will talk about. I guess we will be talking about Black Widow first if you're in for that. If the panel's in,
I'm definitely into it.
I'm in for Black Widow.
Yeah, I'm for sure. I've been waiting forever to watch that movie. I'm super excited for it.
So Black Widow first, and then we will be, and then we're also be having Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, but that's after, right? That's not until next
a long
year.
time. So
March next year. Okay.
Yeah. So what the slate should be is Black Widow first. We'll do a recap of that. Then we'll do Loki, and then it will be. I think Shang-Chi will finish, and we'll do that
Shang-Chi
one.
and the 10 Rings, or is that what it's called?
Shang-Chi and 10 Rings, and then we'll do What If, and then we will do Eternals, which would be at the end of the year.
Some great stuff coming up. Some all new. It's all new. It's not like you were worried about them being the same old. Not the same old. It's like we got Eternals coming in. We got Loki.
I'm so excited for What If.
What if we got to get Marvel Zombies?
What would Sharon Carter as Peggy Carter as Captain Britain?
Yeah.
That I saw that she's back. Haley Atwell's back.
What
Jeffrey
happens?
Wright as Uatu.
Yep. what happens if T'Challa is taken by uh, by uh, instead up the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sorry. I can only
Thor?
think of him as Mary Poppins. Um,
Yondu?
Yondu. If Yondu takes T'Challa, it's
Mary
yeah,
Instead of Peter Quill?
yeah. That's
Oh.
also an episode.
Okay.
Yep.
So in this version, T'Challa is basically
Star-Lord.
a guardian of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Star Lord. Okay. But not with the whole ego living planet stuff.
Correct.
Okay. It'd be fun. I don't think he could do the Power Stone like Peter Quill did.
True. But also I think he wouldn't have screwed up as Peter Quill. As Peter Quill did, and put himself in that type of situation.
You're right. That's not T'Challa's style. But anyway. Okay, so I'm excited to talk about all of those things. Next is Black Widow will be the next one we'll watch. Check out all of our other stuff here on our Super Mater Brothers podcasting network. Jaemeel and I right now are in the thick of Big Brother Canada 9. We're coming up to the last week, our 10-week marathon, almost finished. We're down to the final 4. Spoilers, but we got Kiefer, we got Tara, we got Brayden.
Ty.
Huh?
Brayden and Ty.
We got Ty to Sean. It's quite something, Ashley. Check it out. And then we also do other things here on Super Mario Brothers Podcast. We've done Westworld, Survivor. What else have we done?
Serpent.
The Serpent. We did the Serpent. We did Tiger King.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yes, we all remember that. And then we have our sister channel, which is Trivial Debates, which is usually done on the last Sunday of every month, where 3 people debate on a variety of subjects: music, television, movies, and a wild card. Usually there is a random host, and our next host is Jody, which should be happening at the end of May. So look out for that one. And then lastly, we have another sister channel, Live Long and Podcast, where we review and talk about a variety of Star Trek content. So on Tuesdays, we do D Space 9 at 9. On Wednesdays, we do Ted Trek with the patriarch of the Mater family. Even this breakdown. That happens on Wednesdays. And then usually every weekend, this weekend we took a break to do this. There is Star Trek Radio Theater, where a Star Trek show episode from the variety of series is redone in a radio broadcast style. So the podcasters you've grown to love take on a variety of roles, and hilarity ensues. Last week we did the Samaritan Snare,
which I'm still editing. That's the other reason we're taking a break this week, because
They didn't need to know that. It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's all movie magic.
The week before we did our man Bashir from Deep Space Nine. And if you watch any of our channels, we'll probably detail what our next episode is. But regardless, it's fun. You should listen along and enjoy. I think that's it, Dave.
That's it. That's all we got. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Jaemeel. Thank you, Sam Wilson, new Captain America. Thanks, White Wolf. Thanks, Marvel. All right. Wait. It's not even May 1st anymore. I can't even put that up anymore. So
do we rate these ones?
Did we rate it last time?
We rated. Right.
I don't have a spreadsheet for it.
Okay. I feel like we rated WandaVision, but that's okay. That's good.
Well, we can rate this one.
Off air.
Yeah, we can. I don't know what we rated it. So I'm not organized for. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So, but for sure, when we get to Black Widow and Loki, we'll have a rating systems
yes,
made up.
Yes.
So,
right.
For all of us, to all of you, take